All right, we are live. It is Sunday, November 19th. If you're watching on YouTube, timestamps will be below in the description, so you can jump right to your reading. Other than that, I'm going to hang out with the people showing up until we begin the first reading. So here we are. Hope everybody's having a good Sunday, had a good week. Hope everyone is thriving out there. Excuse me. Hope everyone's having a good time in the world. Okay. I think I just have a crack on my screen protector there. That's what I was doing. Hey Moni, we are just starting. We have literally just showed up well, I literally just showed up for the live. Hey Stacy, good to see ya. This reminds me, it's a good time to unmeow the live. One day I'll do this the first try. There we go. As far as unmirroring the video. There's just so many options. Hey Sean, good to see you. Good to see you too. Hey Dana, Judith, good to see ya. Lindsay, how are you doing? How does it get any better than this today? If anyone else said hi and I didn't say hi back. Hi Queen of Swords. Good to see you too, Authentic Mystic. For the highest good, we are going to crush it today. Why not? Yeah. So we'll be doing, well, we'll see what we do today, but I was about to go through some of the spiel, and then they're like, nope, don't go through the spiel. So I won't go through the spiel. I won't do that right now. But as far as what would be for good for me to talk about before we dive into this, they're really just telling me to chill for a second. So I guess I'll just chill with y'all for a second. Not sure if anyone has anything to say before we delve into this. Happy Sunday, Heather. How was your week? Week was good. Week was good. Restful, but good. As God designed is what I hear, which is funny, but it's a good week. How was your guys' week? Hopefully it was good. I taught a Reiki masterclass yesterday, which went really well, and that was exciting and fun, so really enjoyed that. But yeah, otherwise nothing to complain about, I'd say. It's been productive overall. Great. That's awesome. That's super good. Hey, Lainey. How are you doing? So I'm getting to dive into the collective reading. So collective reading, of course, we're probably going to do our like normal, what's the best way to say this? Thing we do for the life, that or better. But the collective reading, fire signs, earth signs, air signs, water signs, full channel mode message, perhaps guitar, but we'll see. And I'm getting to start the collective reading soon, which is just meant to be for everybody here, you know, whoever's here, whoever's tuning in for this whenever they see it. So whether it's here live or on YouTube, and they're just really wanting to start. So they're like, put the sign up and let's dive into it. So fully flask good. This is just meant to be for you when you see it. I'm going to flow with the channel messages coming through from my spirit guides, the angels, and the source for your highest good, as well as flowing with my intuition, what my intuition is telling me. So all that great stuff, that or better. And let's dive into the reading. So first thing they're showing me for this reading, they were showing like an angel diving into the water for let's dive into the water. But they also then dove into the waters parting, kind of like if you think of the biblical story, Moses and parting of the Red Sea and all that. here. So the good news is a way is really being made for you, even particularly regarding difficult circumstances or where there's no way forward ostensibly. The words I'm also hearing with this is there is always a way, even if you don't see it. And sometimes with like the limited human conditioning people are trained into, people don't always see how spirit works or like what spirit is doing with everything when there are obstacles or roadblocks or difficult circumstances. But I'm really hearing for you, like, trust that a way is being made for you. And if you haven't seen it already, there's going to be this metaphorical like parting of the Red Sea or parting of the seas for you. So you can kind of make your way forward in life, whether that's to opportunity, because they're showing on, like on the other side of this path that's made through the water, there's like opportunity is one of the things for some of you. Right. You know, and the other examples I'm hearing are like new job or relationships healing, you know, things like that. Or could just be like a new life, like you're starting fresh or getting new opportunities to renew your life and change the things you'd like to change. So the good news, again, I already kind of said it, but it's like you are leaving difficult circumstances soon through this metaphorical parting of the Red Sea. So there is a bit more on this before we change messages. So let me see what they'd like to say about it. Let's go a little bit deeper here. The other message for you is like there are new ideas coming for each of you regarding your circumstances. So really pay attention to the ideas you're getting, especially regarding success or having success, or like even like what success looks to you or what success would be to you or ways to success. It's interesting. What I'm getting is it actually is really important you're focused on success and what that is for you and moving towards that when you're ready. Like you don't have to force anything. In some ways, a lot of us are in a resting period right now by design because of the new year coming, and I guess the new ideas coming in as well as what they're saying, and maybe some new directions or just the continuation of your journey after the resting period. So if you find yourself resting and you don't like it, that's like okay. Like please try to accept that and trust it's necessary for redirection or what you need next. And it's not meant to punish you or keep you from success. It's literally for your success long term. So if you find yourself resting a lot, like that's something to keep in mind. But let me see, let me get this message again here. But focusing on success, you know, other than that, is important because what I'm hearing is that's what's going to help you improve your life. And this could be success in relationships, success in being happy, success in a job or career or business, or just whatever success is for you. And for some reason, Spirit really would like you to focus on that and even like experiment with things that would get you there if you're not sure what the next step is for you regarding those things once you're done resting or getting that message like, okay, it's time to work again or time to put more effort into things. So just keep that in mind right now. Like if you're focused on success, it's not a bad thing. It's literally perfect. And sometimes we beat up on ourselves or judge ourselves because of the stories, you know, humans have that, oh, if you, depending on where you're at with this, some people have stories like, oh, success, if you want that, like you think you're better than other people or you're bad because other people don't have this thing or this opportunity. Like there's all that weird, you know, stuff that comes up to kind of keep you from stepping into your own greatness and even like your light and your ability to impact and change the world for the highest good. So if that is you and that's really coming up, like really work through that. Now is the time to work through that. Stay with that, journal on it, channel on it, whatever you do to move that energy or move through that, because it's really not serving you if you're someone who's dealing with anything like that pops up when you think about success or becoming successful or even like rich or famous or anything like that, are also words I'm hearing to bring into this because people like to judge those things. So and think they're bad, but also want them simultaneously, and just but then hate on people who have it because they have it, and the people who are hating on it don't. It's like a whole mess of a weird psychological jumble of messages from society and what your parents said and what priests said if you were religious growing up and all this stuff. But if you really simplify it and pick apart the stories and judgments and burdens of others around it, there's nothing really wrong with it. And I would just recommend you do what feels light to you and right for you and what would be for your highest good, regardless of the judgments or stories around anything. But I feel like that goes for anything, not just success or whatever you're gunning for in life, if you will, or trying to move towards in life. I don't know if using the word gun in TikTok live makes it suppress it in the algorithm, but whatever. Sorry, my mind just went there for a second when the word gunning came through. So next message they'd like to get to here. So they're switching visuals, and the intuitive visual I'm getting next is like there's this boat skimming across the water. And don't take this literally yet, please. Like this isn't meant to be a... Well, maybe we'll get into the topic of what you might think of to talk about that. But it's like as you're going across the sea, like there's these bad guys, if you will. And I don't even like that word because it gets into the good and bad and all these weird things. But this like enemy that's like chasing you, across the sea or anything like that. But it actually like really can't get to you. In the message I'm getting for you is like your fears are not reality, especially right now. Like, because if you're crossing the sea to get to this opportunity and you are viewing yourself as the quote unquote good guy or protagonist, whatever you want to call it regarding this message that's coming through, oftentimes in certain stories, there is like a bad guy or an antagonist trying to like stop the protagonist from like getting certain items or tools for their journey to overthrow the antagonist or do something good for the world or whatever it is, depending on the story. I don't necessarily feel like that's always real life. I don't really feel like copying and pasting those like things from like stories onto the real world is necessarily like true or the best thing for us either in the ways we view things. It might not always be healthy for our perspective, if I'm being honest, or again, align with truth. However, it does speak to a little bit of what you might be dealing with internally regarding this message is what I'm getting. If you're like afraid of things like tanking your journey or like keeping you from success or people not wanting you to win and you're giving your power away to those ideas and thinking it can stop you, Spirit's like, no, it really can't stop you. Like, stop focusing on that. I'm just getting a weird message like you don't need to deal with that as much as you are if you are dealing with anything like that. And it could be different like versions of that too. If you don't feel like it's literally those fears popping up, it could be like you're afraid of what people will think if you're successful, or it could be like just other burdens around you moving towards what you desire. And like those burdens are almost kind of designed to keep you small, whether it was psychologically imposed on you as a child and that wasn't that person's intention when it was kind of imposed on you, that's just what I'm hearing about it. So all that to say, don't be afraid. That's what I'm getting for you. And so let me see what they'd like to get to next. Fully thighs skin. I just feel like there's nothing that's going to stop you, honestly. And that's part of that message. And obviously the reason that they're reading that through is because you think that something can, but it can't. So let's move on. I think you get it by now here. So the next thing that they're showing me in this visual, we're going back to this boat here, but now this boat has like these bird wings or like angel wings almost, and this boat is flying. And the message for you with this visual is that the impossible is possible. Like so many of you actually doubt yourselves and like what's possible for you. And one of the messages they'd like me to tell you, and they're telling me to tell you this, is I've been very strongly getting this message for 2024 and beyond, that possibilities are really rising for people right now. Like it came through in the newsletter for the month of November. Like I do channel messages a month ahead on the newsletter. And it was a really strong message like, hey, like now going forward, 2024, going forward, like a lot of like possibility is rising for people, like higher possibilities, like a lot is becoming possible. And it's like your job is to like allow that pretty much and like allow the possibilities and undo any limiting beliefs that might keep you from seeing that, which maybe you don't even need to worry about in the first place. Maybe we can just manifest that. But all that being said, I'd really be open to even like seemingly impossible realities that would be very positive for you and manifesting beyond what you think is possible, and even like reaching for things you don't think are possible for you in your reality. Yeah, like with what you're manifesting, like we said, but also like what you're moving towards with your actions. So an example would be like maybe you think you can only date a specific type of person. That's not that we need to get into these things about attractiveness and all that and all that weird stuff that's going to bring up probably for everybody. But maybe you think you can only date someone who's this type of person who treats you this way. Maybe we could subvert it that way, or this level of attractiveness. I don't know, whatever the story that resonates for you regarding this would be. But maybe you can reach for someone who treats you way better and treats you like gold. And maybe you can reach for someone who's a different type that you'd really like to try dating than the people you usually date, for example. And maybe one of the reasons things that have been a little bit on the lower scale of what you could experience haven't been working out for you is because Spirit is like, hey, try these higher things that are a bit more what you'd actually desire and not just your story of what you think you can have. And for some of you, actually maybe about 70% of you, I feel like you've had experiences like that, maybe even recently, or maybe even where you're kind of kept from something lower, even though it's something you think you want, but it's actually something more along the lines of like the story of what you think you can have that you would want, but it's actually kind of settling compared to what you actually can have. If you open to the possibilities and open the possibilities of what's actually possible for you that you think is impossible. So that was kind of a weird tongue twister coming out of my mouth, but I think you understand what they're bringing through with all that and what they're saying. I would just try to reach a little bit higher than you think you can and just reach for things you think you can't have, even if it's like a little bit of a stretch. And the other thing they're kind of mentioning right now is think of what's becoming possible in the world as certain technologies improve, or like what's become possible with like social media compared to 20 years ago with like businesses and people being able to make money online. And they're like, think of what can happen in the future as more people create more opportunities for other people and more people start working with all this in a way that's for the highest good. And that might be a bit touchy. Some of you might be thinking like, oh, there's so many corrupt people out there, blah, 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 and all with all this stuff. And there might be some of that, but I do get that more people are waking up to changing the world for the better. And more people are waking up to possibility. And if you're one of those people, then great, you should be putting your work out in the world and doing things to make the world a better place for the highest good and all that. And you're like one of those testaments that there are good people out there, with all that. But there are definitely people who are going to be working for the highest good, who are legit, doing things for the highest good. And I'm kind of getting a weird message, like you don't necessarily need to worry about all that. Like Spirit's got it covered. You focus on you and what's becoming possible for you, and like the rest will kind of settle into place. And I know we all have this idea that we all need to go out and save the world. But I'm getting a weird message for you right now. Like that's not necessarily true. You need to save yourself. And by doing so, you're going to help save the world. And by what you're doing by proxy, that's going to, help other people around you. For example, if you have more abundance to help the people that you're guided to help with that abundance, for example. So weird message that this kind of segued into, but try not to save the world before yourself. It's out of order is what they're saying. Like that's doing things out of order for you. Okay, next message. They're showing me this like green beans. It's like a pot of green beans. They give me the word Thanksgiving. I know in the United States and potentially some other countries that celebrate something akin to Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is coming up this week, right? So let me see what the message is for you guys regarding all that here. So I know. What I'm also hearing is this is a great week for gratitude. It is timeless. So even if you're watching this on YouTube, it could just be a good time to sink your teeth into doing more with your gratitude journal, or just re-upping your gratitude practice or appreciation practice, whatever word you prefer. I personally prefer appreciation, but that's a whole thing. So don't worry about it. Do what works for you. But it's going to be a really good week for that, and a good week for reflection and seeing what you appreciate right now in your life authentically. but also digging into like, okay, I see what I appreciate and maybe what I could have a bit more appreciation for, but what would I like to change? Or, what is there that I would like to have changed in my life as well? And if you're kind of examining those two things, it's like the perfect time, like now, maybe even at the end of the year. And if you're watching this after the year's end and you're watching this in 2024 or later, then just in the next couple months, it's a really good time to look into that, because it's just an interestingly good time, I guess, for a life review and for all the changes that can accompany that as you put your awareness on those things and start making asks for the universe to change what you'd like to change and start calling in more of perhaps what you already appreciate, if that makes sense. It's just a really good time to examine that. So, again, I feel like I already spoke to this earlier, but another message that's coming through right now is if you're someone who's really gung-ho about taking action and geared towards it and really amped about taking action in your world and like creating your reality, creating good things, success, abundance for yourself right now, and you're getting tripped up right now trying to like force things to happen, now again could be like a pause period for you where you just get a bit more information on what you'd like before you get the engines rolling again and just go full steam ahead. Because the review period is also meant to help redirect you and bring in what makes you feel joy, not just like doing what you're used to doing because that's all you know, and then you go down the wrong track 10 miles and then you have to turn around and backtrack or take this big detour because you didn't really take time to see where you were supposed to go next, if that makes sense. That's kind of what the review period is helping with as well. So we're almost done with this reading before we move on to the next one, but they're showing me grapes. They're showing me a duck. If you remember that joke about a duck walking into a bar and asking for grapes. But let me see what the message is for you here that they'd like to bring through. As typically is the message that they give when they show me grapes, there are okay, I'll get to what they're showing me in a second, but there are rewards coming in is the first thing I'm hearing regarding these grapes. If you're seeing this now, like live or soon after it's posted, like now through the end of the year especially, definitely like the beginning of next year as well, where it's like certain manifestations coming in, certain things you're desiring happening, certain experiences you're wanting showing up for you, like through, if you're in the northern hemisphere, I suppose the winter period, though it would be summer for my summer. The southern hemisphere peeps is what I'm trying to say. Oh my God. I've been tripping up on words since yesterday. I was teaching a class yesterday and I kept tripping up on words. So we'll see what's up with that, or maybe it just doesn't matter. But anything else on that? Because that's pretty straightforward as a message, I feel. Just know that's happening. Maybe invite that in if you're not sure or you'd like to make sure of it. I just feel like we're kind of in this reward period, or maybe even like a justice period where justice is really kind of coming in the world. It's almost like I'm getting a weird message. I don't always take these like super literally, like, oh, this is the only way the universe works. But what I'm hearing is a message for you is that like spirits, the universe is like almost like taking stock of the year prior and kind of dishing out a little bit of what people deserve, or like if people need like learning to get better, for example, from things that maybe weren't in alignment or of consciousness, they'll kind of get it doesn't even have to be harsh or like terrible, but they'll kind of get the lessons or learning they need to be better for next year, like the prep for next year. Kind of like, okay, maybe the example they're giving me is like a way to phrase this for someone is like, oh, hey, maybe you failed the mission this year. Okay, let's get you prepped for next year. Kind of like, an employer doing an employee training session where it's like, okay, we thought we trained you for and this isn't literally what's happening, but as an example to try and get the message across, it's like, okay, we thought we trained you. You're kind of messing up in these areas. We're going to retrain you so that you're ready to go, and kind of re-go over these things so that you're ready to go for the next season or, the next thing that's coming up. And again, I'm going to say it again, you don't have to take it too literally, but take the essence of what's being said and just see what shows up and you'll get it probably. Though the other thing is like, if you did really well this year, you did your best, you're doing your best to overcome challenges and all that stuff. I feel like what I'm hearing is there is more ease being granted for you and just rewards and just this kind of justice balancing thing coming in to help everyone else. Oh my God, help everyone out with what they need going forward in the next year, and just to balance the way things have gone this past year, if that makes any sense. And anything else I need to say in that? I guess that sums it up. Kind of a weird message, but that's fine. The other thing, nope. Okay, where do we go next here? Next thing they're showing me are these red grapes. So I guess they were kind of green grapes they were showing me earlier. With the red grapes here, they did start singing that Red Red Wine song. I used to love that one when I was younger. It's just a catchy melody. But even though it's kind of seems like a bummer of a song, right? If you think of the lyrics, I might have to look at those lyrics. But if any of you have been like really sad this past year perpetually, I feel like that's going to change, or like your perspective is going to shift so you can open to more joy soon. I do feel like you're getting more rewards and stepping stones to a happier existence on the planet, something I'm getting as well, or like the possibilities to bring that in at least. I don't feel like you're going to be sad, which is great. And I don't know, the wine could also be something symbolizing a reward. Like maybe it'll be celebrating something soon here in this next season, like a win or a victory. So that's really good. The other thing they showed me when they were showing me the duck and the grapes originally was like this duck with like a knife or something like that. So I don't know if they were just showing that to be funny for me, or if there's actually a message. Let me sit with it for a second and see what they clarify. They're like, okay, there is a message we can kind of bring in with that, but let me sit with what it is. Okay, one of the messages for you guys right now is to really pay attention to the animals that are showing up in your world right now, like as signs or synchronicities, or you're just seeing a lot of them, even if it's just on social media. Because even if it's not an animal that you'd think of as like, oh, that's a powerful animal, that's a really grand thing that I really would like as a spirit animal, like that's a spirit animal for you. So even if you're seeing like ducks, because they're showing this individual with like this army of ducks, and these ducks have like ninja outfits and like swords and like knives and stuff like that. And it's like, even though it's kind of a docile creature, if I'm saying that correctly, if you will, it's also like the spirit animal is actually powerful. So I think sometimes we can kind of judge like, oh, I've got like a cricket spirit animal, that means it's a flimsy bug and I suck, and it's like not true. It's like, it's kind of spirit. The words I'm hearing are spirit brings you what you need, regardless of your judgments of like the spirit animal showing up for you or whatever. So try not to judge it or deem yourself as lesser because you have like duck spirit animal, and then your friend has like a tiger thing going on or something like that. It's like duck for whatever reason is what you need, as a spirit animal, and that's the medicine you need. So try not to poo-poo that or think it's lesser than. That's just a message for those of you who've been seeing a lot of animals as like signs and you haven't been thinking of anything of it. That's your just reminder, like to pay attention to those things, and like spirit does have a message and it's not just happening for no reason and all that stuff here. Okay, I think this will be one of the last messages here for this reading, but they're showing these, like, they're just giving me the word number, and they're showing these like numbers. I'm not getting the words to describe it. So let me say what the message and see what the message is directly for you guys here. This is a really interesting message, actually. So they're showing all these numbers, and you know how people talk about numbers and angel numbers as synchronicities, and they're giving this message that synchronicity is changing, is becoming more prevalent, is becoming the more of the norm for reality for everybody. So you to use this word, I don't mean anything by it, it's just the phrase I'm hearing, is like you might see people who are quote unquote normies, or the muggles, if you watch Harry Potter, and they're kind of starting to comment on like synchronicity a bit more, like angel numbers or things like that. So for those of you who are already in that and like seeing those signs and you're already living in that world, it's really going to uptick and increase, and it's going to be more of a constant like 24/7. And if it was already a constant 24/7 for you, I just feel like you're going to be living in constant divine guidance. This is pretty much what I'm hearing. So everyone's kind of just going higher, and more magic is being more prevalent. And it's kind of something that humanity is like unlocked for themselves in a weird way, if that makes any sense. Oop, did I just invite someone or uninvite someone? Sorry. Someone was trying to go live with me and I'm not trying to do that right now. So, okay, but I guess that's it. That's no more is kind of what they're saying. There is some more depth we could go into about that synchronicity message and that synchronicity uptick. But really what they're saying is like, all you need to know is there's going to be more synchronicity and you'll have your own understandings regarding all that flourish at the right time. It's an interesting message that the universe is becoming more magical and it's something that humanity has unlocked. And it's definitely a good thing, if you will use that word, a positive thing. Okay, so I hope that helped, resonated, do whatever is for your eyes. Good. We're going to move to the fire signs in a second here, probably. Yeah, I might hang out for a second with you guys, see what's up in the chat. But then we'll do the fire signs. You're welcome, D. I had a spider once say hi to me with his front little legs and then walked away. That's super cool. That reminds me of like a story that I read online that was a meme where someone was like knitting in a park and then like a spider, I think it was a jumping spider, but I could be wrong, because those always strike me as strangely intelligent. But actually what I am hearing, credit to your story too, is that spiders are a lot more intelligent than people give them credit for. But people see them as creepy, so they don't really like to see that. So it is what it is. But someone was in the park like knitting, and then according to this person, what they said was that the spider crawled into their lap and started like, gaining some like thread from its spider butt, and then like holding it up, like he was like, "Oh, I do this too," or something like that. And I think he had a picture too. It was really interesting. But I've been getting the message that the world is becoming more magical as well. Well, there you go. There's some confirmation. Some confirmation for is what they're telling me to say, so I'll say it full sentence, I guess. Your energy is our Sunday highlight. Well, thank you very much, Henry. I appreciate that a lot. Magic everywhere for me. Heck yeah. How's it get even better than that? Love the Muggles comment. Yeah. Even the ducky. There you go. Awesome. I'm glad to hear it. I hope it gets better for you, Greta. Oh, there you go. When you mentioned spirit animals giving signs, my cat randomly jumped from sleeping. Nice. I like that. My ducky's rubber ducky. I think that counts. Feel a happy shift? Heck yeah. That's awesome. All right, well, they're telling me to start the fire signs really soon. They're saying we don't want to hang out for too long between these two readings for whatever reason. So, all right, we're starting the fire signs now. I'm just going with the flow on that. So if you have a fire sign, sun, moon, or rising, this is for you when you see it. I'm going to flow with the channeled messages coming through for you from my spirit guides and angels and source, and flowing with what my intuition is saying as well, if you will, to bring through whatever would be for your eyes kids. So let's start your reading. And it's funny because they just showed like an angel hitting a gong to like symbolize the start of the reading. Like, gong starts. But then they also started showing me a gong. So I'm like, okay, the first thing they're showing me for your reading is a gong. And the words they're giving me are sound healing. And they're giving me the message for you to pay attention to sound healing and sound healing devices or instruments, and maybe incorporate a bit more of that into your reality for yourself, even if it's just on YouTube and like playing it for your home at the end of the day, or at the end of a long day is what I heard, or to like clear your energies, or you just have a singing bowl on hand to help yourself out after you go through something rough, or you want to clear your energies or something like that, or a bell. They're telling me to show you. I have like a little Tibetan bell right here. I don't want to like make you go deaf with that by blasting it by the microphone, but for whatever reason, it's a good idea that you're paying attention to sound healing, incorporating it a bit more. It could just be an extra beneficial medicine for you at the moment, or maybe you are a sound healer and this is your confirmation to stick with it, is another thing I'm hearing for maybe like two of you that are sound healers, like specifically. And I'm getting a weird message. I don't know how. I'll just say it. They're kind of saying like, sometimes sound healing can be looked over a little bit because it's very like simple, but it can be very powerful and helpful. So try not to look over it for yourself. And maybe there's like a sound bath. No, I was going to say something about a sound bath in your area. Maybe you'd feel called to sign up for, and that might be true for a few of you, but I don't feel like that's totally the real full message for most of you. I feel like it's more about incorporating it more in your daily reality for whatever reason, just to kind of help you out as a, I'm hearing quick fix or just something to turn to help you out. Okay, so we kind of got that. Next thing they're showing me is like a scallop, or let me see what the message is with the scallop. And it's like a living scallop. It's still in the shell, I think, in this visual. So what's up here? So not the direction I thought they were going with this. I feel like it's multifaceted with this message. Like there's multiple directions they're going to go with this one. But the first thing they showed me in this intuitive visual was they showed this scene from like SpongeBob where, and I don't think they were scallops. I think they were clams or something in this thing. And there was this, I can't describe it, but there was this part where there's this like song playing in the background and like the scallops were like singing. It's like ba 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 ba. But this weird scene was playing out that didn't seem related to SpongeBob, where it's like you were there and you were kind of like tired or run ragged and you were almost like passing out, almost like out of tiredness. And then like you woke up to like an entirely different, like more vibrant reality, like in a higher or different dimension for the highest good, like dimension or something going on like that. And some of you have been feeling really tired lately and you don't know what's going on and you feel like something's wrong with you. And, I'm not a licensed doctor, of course, physical doctor person. So if you have any serious concerns, like, yeah, get them checked out. But what I'm hearing for this message is, you might just be like upgrading a lot. And if you feel like hopefully you're not like literally passing out a lot. I don't feel like it's like that, but it could just be like you're going to bed earlier, sleeping earlier, just finding yourself really sleepy and like taking naps. I feel like you're going to like wake up after this time period and things are just going to be completely different. But it's like spirit's doing a lot of work behind the scenes and spirit's doing a lot of work on like your spirit and energies, like while you sleep and on your world while you're resting, almost to like get your mind uninvolved with it as much as it has been. So things can shift. And like they're showing me this weird example of like someone who's like their mind's like already always like on stuff and it's like in this stuff and it's like always like trying to mess with all this stuff and spirit's like, yo, I'm trying to change that, like get out of the way, like like stop reaching out to this person, stop, like stop reaching into this thing in all these different areas. And so it's kind of like spirit's way of getting you to chill out so things can shift for you. So it's a good thing, but I feel like if that's happening, there's some really big shift coming in for you, like regarding your whole reality and all that. And it's a big upshift, which is really cool. For others of you here, what's going on here? They're kind of switching the message up a little bit, where it kind of seems like it'd be something that would apply to hermit crabs more than like scallops, because I don't think scallops change their shells and like scurry to different shells, but they showed it for a second, like the scallop like moving out of its shell, moving to like a bigger one and being rehomed. But they showed hermit crabs as like an alternative thing to move to because it made more sense, I guess, physically. But let me see what the message is for you here. I feel like that's happening for you in your reality as well. Like you're being moved away from things that are too small for you or that you don't fit in anymore and put in the things that will serve your growth and where you're going long term. And sure, yeah, things can absolutely last a long time in your life. This is not saying every single thing is going to collapse and you're always going to grow out of all your relationships and lose everybody all the time. It's not like that. It's more like just about this phase. And you might feel like you're a bit like in between shells. So they showed this like naked hermit crab. He's just like, he's like covering his no square and like shuffling around in the camera view, of this intuitive visual. It looked more like a cartoon, if I'm being honest, if that matters to you. But I feel like you're gonna be totally fine in this transition. Like spirit's watching over you. Spirit has, for the highest good, has your back covered. Like you're not gonna get eaten by predators while you're quote unquote shellless regarding this message. And you're going to find the right things for you. It's going to work out swimmingly, no pun intended, or pun very much intended. They're whatever they meant. They're like pun intended. So pun intended. And don't worry too much about that. If you feel like you're in between things, you're not sure how things are working out right now, or you feel unsafe or insecure, like I feel like you're actually fine regarding this message about, at least most of you. if disclaimer, if you're in like extreme circumstances, I do feel like you too are going to be okay, but do what you need to do to take care of yourself in the meantime is what I'd say. And that's probably gonna be like one of you, is what I'm hearing. So next thing they like to get to, they're showing me the sand again at like the bottom of the sea. And there's like a coral reef. There's again like all this kind of SpongeBob reference going on. So I don't know who watched SpongeBob before this reading, but I'm semi-joking with that. But let me see what the message is with the sand here. They're showing me buried treasure underneath the sand. And it's kind of like the tides need to shift in order to unearth it and move the sand for this treasure chest to peek through so you can get the treasure that's yours. So if you are someone who's waiting on rewards to come in, or like manifestations that were promised to you, or maybe someone else promised something to you, like paying you money or something like that, I feel like it will come in. And there's like a lot of different examples it could be. It doesn't have to just be those few things, but it's fine. It's kind of like the tides are finally turning so you can have this treasure, or you can see it and unearth it and like keep it for yourself. Whereas before, it was almost like you might have metaphorically been told to like go to this spot, there's like treasure here, and you show up there and there's like nothing. It's just this empty seabed floor. You're like, oh, I just wasted my time. Like, in some of you it might have been divine guidance. You're like, spirit told me to go here, there's nothing. Like, what am I gonna do? And it's kind of just like spirit's like, wait, like just wait, like be patient. And then you kind of start to see the edge of this like treasure chest poke through. You can do what you need to do to unearth it and receive the treasure. And there might be more treasure underneath it. So the other message for you right now is try not to feel hopeless right now, because things are being unearthed that you haven't seen before about your current circumstances that are actually really positive, and you're actually about to receive a whole lot in your current world and reality that you haven't had before, probably because you were following directions, especially if you were listening to divine guidance and going with like what spirit wanted, you know, almost like out of you in this like current time. Like, you're going to be rewarded for that, even if you didn't see it right away. And, you know, sometimes like this might not be for all of you, but we're guided to like walk away from something, or we feel led away from something, or maybe something, I don't feel like this is the right way to say it, but maybe something collapses in life and we're forced away from something. I don't feel like that's as strong as a message as the walking away. And we're kind of like, all right, now I'm going to have these great things because I walked away from this thing, and it like just doesn't come right away. We're like, what gives? I did the thing. Hello. But it's like, maybe that was only part of the journey or part of what you needed to do, you know, or not to put this on anything. Sometimes people do need a bit of a detox after certain periods. Like if you're in a toxic job, like maybe you need like some time to like release energies from that, or like things you learned from that, or like heal from that to open to better, or maybe even no, that's not quite the message. I was going to say like maybe even so you're open to receive the next thing, and that could be true for some of you, but I don't feel like that was the main message for this as I was saying it. But the message is the reward will come in. It's like, even if it's been a while or you kind of gave up hope on it. Okay, next thing they like to get to here, they're showing the sand again, but this time the sand is like made out of diamonds. And it's kind of like the whole time what has seemed ordinary has been extraordinary or has been a reward. So it's kind of a count your blessings, you know, kind of message, or, you know, one of those. It's very common as a message, but I'll say it just in case you need to hear it as a reminder, or maybe this will be the time it lands for you or something like that. But it's this message about counting your blessings and then they expand, or, you know, being appreciative for what you have, and then it expands and then you have a lot more, or there was a lot more hidden in what you already have than you realize that's really serving you and for your highest good right now. So one thing as a message is like, try not to poo-poo the normal things in your life that you really enjoy, even if they seem more like average, or, oh, everyone else has this, because they like might not actually have the same thing as you. And like a message as a reminder for this could be like a relationship you have that brings you a lot of laughter and joy. And you might be like, oh, everybody has this funny partner that makes them laugh and feel joy all the time. And you might be surprised to learn that there are a lot of people out there in crappy relationships that don't have that. But to you, you think it's normal for whatever reason, or maybe you've grown accustomed to it or something like that. And that's not to like say anything bad about you, or like, oh, you don't appreciate the things spirit gives you, or anything like that. It's more just a reminder to kind of refresh your perspective, and just take a second to sit with what you have. And you might have a lot more than you realize if you really look at it. And yes, I know sometimes we have areas we still want more in, or we feel like we're lacking in this area, even when we have a lot of really great stuff over here. And what I'm hearing for you is like, what they're saying is like, trust us, it's really going to balance out if you pay attention to what you have over here where you have a lot, and like appreciate that. Like this thing will come in, like this hole will be filled, like spirit's on it. Like you're not abandoned regarding this lack of abundance over here. If you have that, by the way, you might not. And then I'm like, they're saying like, no, they pretty much all have that in some areas. So I'm like, okay. But so that, okay, spirit's on it, but appreciate this in the meantime. And what you would appreciate over here will come in or be filled in, is what I'm hearing for you, which is cool here. Next thing they're showing me is a whale shark. So a lot of ocean and sea references and SpongeBob references for you today, fire signs, which is interesting. I feel like typically they reserve that for the water signs, but I guess we're switching it up today, or they are switching it up today. And, with the whale shark here, they're showing me how the whale shark is this really big creature, but it pretty much survives by inhaling plankton, I believe, or like really small critters and creatures, and like filtering it out of the water. And they're really big, imposing creatures, but to you and me, they would probably be gentle giants. Unless there's like a rogue whale shark out there who's just a rebel. And I don't know. I was going to make a joke about like a whale shark that rides Harley Davidsons and smokes cigarettes when it comes to the surface out of its blowhole. Or do whale sharks even have blowholes? I don't think they do. I think I'm thinking of whales, aren't I? Sorry, I'm getting my mammal facts messed up here. I'm going to have a marine biologist sit next to me in one of these and scrutinize my every word. But anyways, let's get back to the message here on like what this is about for you with the whale shark. So this is about you if you're afraid of taking up too much space because you think you're going to hurt people or like intimidate them. That's like, actually, I'm not saying it's like okay to go out and purposely like hurt people, but what I am saying is like, it's okay to take up that space. And like, it's like, how whale sharks take up a lot of space. They take up a lot of real estate. They're huge. They're imposing. They could be intimidating, which could be like a defense mechanism for them, by the way, so they don't get killed 24/7. But they're actually like gentle giants. They feed off, unless you're a plankton, but they feed off of like the plankton and the small creatures. They're not out here like wrecking crap for everybody. And it's like, you can kind of be like that too, probably not literally in a way where like you take up a lot of space, like you're fully you, like you're fully expressed. And it's like, if you intimidate people, like that's okay. Cause it's like, you're not actually going to go out and hurt them. And it's like, if you take up a lot of space, that's just how you're built. Like that's just the space you're meant to take up. Like it's not like you're using that to bully people or anything like that. So I guess the message is just like, it's okay to take up space and exist and be yourself, even if people are intimidated. Like that's kind of them, because if they got to know you, if you got to know the whale shark, you probably wouldn't be as intimidated because it wouldn't try to bite your face off and stuff like that. So anything else with that before we move on to the next message here? The message is like, don't be afraid to be you and be as big as you can be. The be as big as you can be could be about like your presence. It could be about your energies. It could be about like this energetic space you take up in a room maybe, or just like the amount you shine when you step into a room and like change things. It could be the amount of like attention you get from people. It could be social media, like a big social media or a big business. So take it as it resonates, but a common message that I get, don't dim yourself down for anyone is really what they're saying. And like, if people don't like it, they'll learn to live with it. Excuse me. And you probably don't want people around you who are wanting you to dim your light anyways, as like close friends or comrades or family. Like you probably don't want those as the people close to you. Like that's kind of self-sabotage at that point. I know you don't want to hear it probably, but keep it in mind. Think about it. Next thing they're showing me is like this instant oatmeal or like really quick meals that you could cook like on a stove. Like there's the, let me see what the message is here. Like they're showing me like a Tasty Bite package, and I just saw one, so I don't know why they're showing it to me now. Let me see what the message is with this. So for anyone who needs to hear it, I don't think this will be all of you, but shortcuts and taking care of yourself like are okay. As long as you're taking care of yourself. Like if that's the only way you can take care of yourself fully right now, like maybe this might be for some of you who are like depressed, honestly. I don't know if this message is for literally everyone tuning in, and maybe it is to some degree, but bear with me for a second. Those of you who are happy and enjoy all the time, bear with me while we help some other people for a second. Sorry, they didn't like that. I said that. Take it. Let's get back on track here and just let this help whoever it's meant to help. Like it's okay to just take shortcuts and like self-care. It's like if you can't meditate for, an hour, do it for 30 minutes, do it for 20 minutes, maybe find a shorter, more impactful meditation or something else you can do for yourself. It reminds me of this meme I saw recently, and it was someone, they showed it to me as well. It was someone talking about how they went to a therapist, and like the person who went to the therapist was complaining that like doing the dishes was just like too much for them. Like at the time, like they just couldn't do it. Like they didn't want to, and so that the dishes would just pile up, and they hated, cleaning the dishes because then like the dishwasher wouldn't get all of it, but then like they just didn't do the dishes because then the dishwasher wouldn't get all of it. And the therapist is like, oh, just run the dishwasher twice. And the person's like, excuse me? Then the therapist was like, well, if you can't do the dishes, then just run it 2 or 3 times, run it 5 times. Like it doesn't matter. Like if that's what's going to work for you right now and it's easier and you can do it, like just do it. Who cares what people think or have told you your whole life? Is like stories for why that's wrong and bad and you're lazy if you don't do it this specific way and all this stuff. So, kind of just a reminder that it's okay to take care of yourself with shortcuts or ways that are unorthodox or ways that work for you if you're struggling with something right now. And who cares what people would judge about that? Like they're not going through what you're going through. And if they were, they'd probably be okay with taking the shortcuts too. They would understand, right? So let's not get too wrapped up in the judgments of others who don't get or understand who we are, what our experience is like, what we're going through, what we've been through, etc. Because they just don't get it, and they would if they did, and we're going through what you were going through. I'm just getting that's a message some of you needed, so let's move on here. The next thing, they're going to start winding the reading down is what I'm getting, so let me see, or just, closing it out soon. So let me see what are the last messages for you while we're here. Showed me a starfish here with like a gem in the center. That's not meant to be a Pokemon reference, but you might recall from your kids playing Pokemon that exists. Or maybe you played Pokemon and that's cool too. I played Pokemon. But let me see what the message is here. Here's a really interesting one. So in that game, the Pokemon games, that Pokemon that's like a starfish with like a gem in the center is like, I believe, a psychic type. So what they're kind of doing is they're kind of combining these meanings of like starfish and like that game where starfish really have this capability to regenerate or something along those lines and like regrow themselves. And seeing as this starfish with the gem in its center is like a psychic, what I'm hearing is like your psychic abilities are healing, or the aspects of you that are psychic that were wounded, maybe by others who didn't get it even, speaking of people not getting it, or just for whatever reason are like healing. So you're going to find it easier to be psychic or work with your gifts without having to work through certain like triggers or like pain points that maybe other people put you through. Or maybe you'll find it easier to access your gifts if maybe you're someone, which isn't going to be all of you, who like shut them down over time because like family members didn't get it or said weird things, or you were afraid, or religion taught you to be afraid, or whatever stupid, not stupid like, oh, you're stupid for going through that. But if you think about it, like those things are just, to me, I'm just calling those things stupid. Whatever. And you get what I'm saying when I say that, hopefully, and where I'm coming from when I say that. But what I'm really trying to say is like, that's healing. You're going to have an easier time with that. Things are just going to flow. And if your intuition has been muddy, it's not going to be muddy anymore for whoever feels like you've had like that happening. So they'd like to close the reading now. I hope that, one more here. here's a weird message, but I'll say it just in case. They're showing, you know, that phrase, like people saying they would like die on that hill regarding like a topic they're defending or a point of view or whatever perspective, whatever it is. Um, for whoever needs to hear this, if like you used to be like that, where you about something and you no longer agree with that and you no longer would die on that hill, like it's okay to no longer be in that die on that hill perspective about it. Like it's okay to move away from that in case you need to hear that or need to give yourself permission to do that. Like people change and grow and perspective change, and like that's okay. Um, and you know, that's not always like a healthy point of view. Sometimes it is, like that whole die on a hill thing. Um, but sometimes people lock themselves into beliefs that don't serve them or that just are incorrect. So it's actually healthy to it's healthy to be able to adjust to new information, as you might have read people saying before. And if you're someone who's honing your gifts in, as you hone your gifts in and get new information even from that, like intuitively, it's okay to change your old perspectives and not go along with that if your intuition is telling you new things, you know, new information and all that. And it can be really important to kind of give way to the truth and get it's important that we don't always lock ourselves so hard into a belief or viewpoint we don't allow room for the truth, if that makes sense. If it hasn't already been shown to us that that thing is totally true, if that makes sense. Or if you don't have your spirit guide telling you like, no, this is the truth, this is we're telling you right now, you know, like it's okay to leave a little bit of wiggle room for something new to come in sometimes, when you find yourself in a very locked in perspective. So I think they're done. Hope that helped, resonated, did whatever is for highest good, spoke to those of you who needed to spoke. Well, it did. That's what I'm getting, but all that. I'm going to hang out with chat for just a second, then we'll start the earth signs. But yeah, hope that was helpful for you guys. Hey, Jessica, good to see you too. My week was pretty good. I ended up resting a pretty good amount, but that's what I was guided to do, so no qualms with that. Hi, Susie. Hope you're doing well. Resonated. Thanks, Sober Girl. Yeah, Sober Girl. I'm glad to hear it. Have you read the book The Way of the Superior Man? Nope. I have not. A long time ago, I remember a friend sent me like this course or something, and I can't remember if it was like Way of the Superior Man or it was like the same author, or if it was like something about dating regarding like the Way of the Superior Man or something like that. I don't remember it, if it was the exact same thing or person or not, but I remember hearing that phrase, and I remember some of the things from that maybe, but I don't know. Brandon, do you find that you resist routine? I am navigating, loving it, and it feeling good to me. Oh, I hear that. When I get intuitively, when I check in on do I find that I resist routine is no. I do find what I'm also hearing is a weird thing is like I do resist things that other people might consider routine but aren't. I don't know how to quantify that, but if they'll give me an example, I'll talk about it. Like I'm resistant to certain forms of scheduling, maybe, if that makes sense. Not all, but like if someone drops a scheduler in front of me, like I find it like very restricting. Like I really just can't do it sometimes. And I had to kind of find, or maybe even instill, what's the best thing to say here? Like there are just certain things that don't work for me like that I have to find new ways for. For example, like things like scheduling or planning and things like that. Like I'm not entirely sure how people always do daily planners personally. But that's just what I've found for myself, for example. And part of me used to think like, oh, is it because I had these like planners for school, like, you know, in high school, and like you plan the homework and doing all the homework and things like that. But I'm getting it's not that. So I'm a Virgo, I can help from the Authentic Mystic. Oh, that's funny. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, I don't know if that helped at all, or maybe you were just curious, but hey, Britt, I have been well. I hope you've been well as well. My buy planners and then find them the next year when they're invalid. Yeah, I hear that. I hear that. It's amazing you find alternative ways. Yeah, well, you kind of have to, or I'll find something that I do for a while, then I'll find something else or something. I guess like what's important is just like that the things that need to get done, kind of like if I don't use a planner, but I get all of my priorities and things I need to get done completed to move forward and to, have whatever success I need to have, then it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, not necessarily. I think I think a lot of people would agree with this, but I think a lot of the times finding the essence of what matters and doing it is a lot more important than maybe the technique or method of how to get the results. I don't feel like I'm saying this very well, but it reminds me of something where I'd always run into, like earlier in my journey, I guess you could say, and maybe even for a while, you'd always run into like these different self-help books or techniques, and then there'd be like 20 million different ones, and it'd be like really overwhelming first and foremost. But then there'd be all these people like, oh, to be successful, you must have this morning routine and eat raw almonds and then poop in a bucket outside and recite the national anthem 3 times. And like it just gets, I'm being obviously ridiculous, but it gets really absurd. And then like I kind of realized like, well, actually, if I just do the thing and it works, I don't need all this crap. Like it's just kind of extraneous. And I think sometimes people look at people who are successful and then they look at the things successful people do and they think if they copy paste that and do that, it will make them successful. But it might not be the essence of what makes that person who's successful. Maybe some of it is, but I think people put the cart before the horse, maybe is a phrase I could use for this when it comes to like copying people who are successful to be successful, and they like kind of approach it the wrong way. And like another example for this that I'm going to go on my rant here is like definitely in like the business world and like business teaching world, I've noticed like there'll be something someone does that makes a ton of sense if you just look at the business and what they actually did. And I'm trying to think of the example. I think it was Cliff Bars, but it could be something else where like he was very in that community and he like would like go around to gyms and like get people's feedback, and like he knew what people wanted and he knew what people griped about that wasn't out there, and then he like made that. And then I remember watching like a business marketing success coach kind of person, not to denigrate them, try to like dissect it, and it's like, yeah, they dissected it, but they like took all the life out of it and all the essence of what made it successful out of it. And they're like, this is what happens when you, I can't even like use the words, but they just use all this business terminology and all this like stuff. And it just like made it too mental to like where the point where like, it just kind of felt like the intuitive nature of how this thing worked wasn't there in what they like dissected. And maybe it kind of was. And maybe this isn't the best example for me to use, but I feel like people like dissect business success and then they turn it into business speakinese, and it like doesn't really capture the essence of the thing that made that business work, and then people try to copy it and they're like, well, I'm doing my, I don't know, doing my thing where I've infiltrated this group of people to get the virality of the who's a what's it for my marketing email campaign, but it doesn't seem to work. It's like, yeah, because you just turn it into like this mental like contraption that isn't actually connecting with people and getting out what they want. I don't know. I'm sorry I butchered that rant, but hopefully that kind of made sense. Do you eat meat and seafood? Yes, I do. I do that. And, I've checked in intuitively because I think some people go like, not eat raw vegan equals bad. And I don't vibe with that personally. For my body, when I check in, like my body's like, yeah, I actually need meat. And like when I ask my guides, they're like, no, actually, it'd be good if you kept eating meats. And I do feel like it's good to eat organic or just approach it intuitively on like what's for that is good for you to eat if you can. and like trust what you're getting, like if this is okay or not okay to eat for your body. But on the other hand, there are people I know who, when they would be contemplating like eating meat again when they were like vegan or vegetarian, you know, sometimes when their body's like accustomed to that, or they've lived that way their whole life, or like that's just very much in their family they've been doing that. Maybe I'm not explaining this the right way. Like I'll get like, no, like I'm getting your body really does well with vegetarian, vegan, like that'd be really good for you to stick with. And even if you perceive the energies of like this person eating meat and this person, if they stick with the vegan or vegetarian diet, like you'll feel the difference. Like, oh, I do not like how that feels for you. Your energies, like if you start eating meat, or like how does that feels for you in general if you start eating meat again. So knocking over my mic. So I think it really depends on the individual. Not that you were coming at me like that anyways, whoever asked that question. But yeah, I do eat meat and seafood. Yeah, you're welcome. I had to add too many fats when I tried to eat more vegetarian. I think I understand. Rochelle says they eat a mainly seafood diet. That's cool. That sounds good. All right. I know I just went in like a bajillion rants, but I'm getting to start the earth signs reading soon. I'll hang out for like another second and then we'll start that. I've been eating vegan nuggets and whatever feels interesting in the moment. Whatever works. Veg and fruit, probably a good idea for Rochelle. First Soul asks, what kind of sound healing works for you? The word I heard when I read your question was any, I suppose. I guess like my one caveat, what would be fast for me to say here? I don't want to go into a thing that's not fast for me to get into here. I don't know. I've kind of found like for sound healing, it can all really work, honestly. I've loved certain sound baths I've gone to. The only time I might shy away from a particular thing of sound healing is if I am not keen on the energies of the practitioner, or where the practitioner is coming from, if it's like someone else doing the sound healing. So, you know, for example, if someone approaches me and they're like, hi, I've got these tuning forks and I'm doing sound healing, and I'm like getting like a no, and I just kind of feel weird about it, I'll be like, thank you very much, but no thank you. Or if someone's doing a sound bath and I don't like their energies, or I'm getting like, no, don't go to that sound bath, then I just won't go. But that's the only time I would personally shy away from probably a sound healing. Is, well, of course, if I'm intuitively guided not to do it, but if the energy of the practitioner facilitating it isn't up to snuff, if you will. I find doing it myself helps. Yeah, I think that's always a good way to go too. We've been, because Lo is asking if we just got started, or if you're late. So we have done the collective and fire signs. So we're a good chunk in, but we're not quite halfway through. I'm getting to start the earth signs reading next. So if you have an earth sign, right, guys? Yeah. If you have an earth sign, sun, moon, or rising, this is going to be for you when you see it. And I'm going to flow with the channel messages coming through from my spirit guides and angels and source for you for your highest good. Oh, it's good to see you here too, Lo. Desiree says, I had a surgery almost 2 weeks ago and I'd love to hear your healing music later. Yeah, we'll see how I'm doing when we get there, for sure. But we'll see how I'm doing once I get there towards the end. But okay, restarting. If you have an earth sign, sun, moon, or rising, this is going to be for you when you see it live or on YouTube. I'm going to flow with the channel messages coming through for you from my spirit guides, angels, and source, and see what my intuition is saying as well. Excuse me. And let's start the reading and see what would be for us good. Sometimes I like burp as like I feel you guys releasing, or as certain things shift energetically, or you know, whatever's going on for the highest good. So excuse me. So the first thing they're showing me, funny enough, are like these bubbles and like this fizz, kind of like a fizzy soda, or I don't know why they're showing me Fanta, but let me sit with this for a second here. The first thing they're showing me are like these bubbles coming to the surface, but they're like huge, and it's like there's this boat on the ocean, and like these bubbles are exploding, and the message is like things are like exploding for you, or will be. Weirdly enough, what I'm getting for you, not to be chaotic here, but what I'm getting is like this could be positive or negative depending on where you're at. But I don't feel like it's going to be that bad. So bear with me before you start freaking out about this message here. Because it's like there might be a lot of things exploding, but it's leading you to a positive place, or it's actually like propelling you into the future. So, for example, if you have a relationship blow up, that's just propelling you into the relationship that you're supposed to be in next. Or if you have like a job situation blow up, it's like that's just propelling you to the next job that you belong in, or the next situation. So there's actually nothing negative about it. You might perceive some, well, the other thing we could say is like this could be entirely positive, like a business blows up for you and you're like, oh yay, I've got a lot of sales, like my sales blew up, my social media account blew up, or exploded in a really positive way. So it's weird because like in this scenario it can kind of go both directions, but it's leading to a positive result either way, is the way they're saying. So don't give up on your life if something blows up is what I'd say. And don't freak out about this message if you're like, oh my God, something bad's and like I almost hesitate to bring through messages like this because I remember there'd be times where I would watch readings in the past and something like negative. Okay, this is actually a really good time to mention something that I think could be really helpful for you guys. They're telling me, because there would be times where people would bring through something like negative, and especially if it was like a reader that was always accurate, I'd sometimes be a little bit on edge because it'd be like, oh man, because every time they say watch your health, like I get sick. Every time they say this, like this thing happens, like But the thing I'm being guided to tell you as well is there was one time I watched something from like one of those readers that just really tended to be accurate for me, and they brought through something a bit negative, and I'm like, oh man, is it going to be this like relationship that ends? Is it going to be this thing that I really like that ends? Like I think it was about an ending. Like, what is this going to be about? Oh my God. And then I remember what I ended up doing is like, okay, I'll talk about this as well, but it gets into theories that I am hesitant to put more stock into and create more of in some ways, but I'll talk about it. Because some people will talk about tarot or different readings is like especially like general readings, is being like on a bit of a spectrum. So for example, I might bring through a message about blowups, and one person it's like they're safe, like their house is fine, but their fuse box blows up, and then they just have to get a new fuse box, but then maybe they upgrade their system and then they save a bunch of money on electricity, and maybe it saved their butts for the winter, and like if it had blown up during the winter it would have been really bad or something. I don't know. It ended up being a positive thing. And like other people it might be like this whole like the whole corporation they work for like just implodes or something like that, and it's like this whole big thing. And for other people it might be like they have a minor fight with their significant other, is like the explosion, but it makes their relationship stronger. And it's like a 2-minute thing that's just like a little blip, and they're like, it's nothing, and if you hadn't had that message and you weren't all like hyped about it, you would have just been like, oh, it's just like a little altercation that would have happened on a normal day, it's fine. And the reason I'm explaining all this to you and tell you this right now, it almost feels like a weird little coaching thing, is I got one of those messages when I was watching a reading. I'm like, okay, I said this is like I get the highest and best expression of this. It's small. It's not a big deal. It's actually positive for me. I'm asking that it's one of those things that's really small. It's a non-issue. And so I just kind of kept putting that intention out there. And then like what it ended up being was like the ending for me in this reading was not watching readings on YouTube, which wasn't a big deal, because I think like what the reader said was something along the lines of, well, what would be nice for me to say here? It was like about an ending and like not knowing what to do or something like that. And like I remember like I was sitting with it. I'm like, I guess I'm not supposed to watch readings. I think I got that message. I'm like, oh, but I don't know what to do instead, because that's kind of what I use in my spare time. I'm like, oh, an ending, and I don't know what to do. And so I was like making this huge thing out of it. And so I just kind of manifested in the other direction, and it turned into this little small thing. I'm like, okay, thank you. That's a lot more manageable. So you don't have to create really big, huge things out of this. And you do have, at least some power in your life. I'm kind of joking because of course you have more than some power in your life to choose a direction with some of these things. I remember another conversation and being guided to talk about really quickly. Actually, it might be something I say and they need to correct, so I'll just roll through it and hopefully this is helpful to you. Of course, that's my intention with all of this, is that's for that's good and helpful and all that. But I remember having a conversation with someone who was into astrology, and we were both kind of on the same page, I think, where it would be like, sometimes we have these things where people will tell us like, oh, with this event, like XYZ thing or energy is going to happen. But if we kind of like, we actually have more sway over how that actually goes than like people typically teach us. So for example, if like someone's saying like, oh, there's going to be a great change in your relationships because XYZ transit XYZ, then we could be like, oh, I'm asking for a really positive shift where there's a lot more ease in my relationships and joy. I'm asking to walk away from people who are toxic and just be able to do so with ease and clarity and joy, even if possible. Things so, and like just kind of like having more sway over the way things actually play out to a certain degree, instead of like buying into the doom and gloom of it, of a message, and then you know what I'm saying? And then like, I don't know if that makes us complicit in creating the worst case scenario. I feel like for some people that could be the case, but that's something I'll say is we do sometimes, if not all the time, have a lot more sway over what we're creating based on the messages other people are sharing with us. Than perhaps we are taught or realize. And sure, sometimes people are just like, they're just on it. They come from a really high vibration, they channel, it's always accurate. And you can't always like really escape from that, I've found. But it doesn't always have to be bad or terrible or devastating. And, usually someone who's doing that and really accurate, coming from a high vibration, it's going to end up at least more positive in the long run for you regarding the messages that come through. It's not going to like tank your life and ruin everything. Unless they mess up, So anything that I need to correct on that? I feel like I'm getting already did. So whatever I said that was going to be an issue, already corrected, I suppose. I know that's not like a typical like reading thing that I typically do with these readings. That's more of like a story that was hopefully helpful for you. And hopefully that helps you not to feel like powerless regarding the messages that other people bring through for you all the time. I don't know. So let me see what else would be for that going to come through for this reading. What's next here? So funny enough, kind of related to that topic, but also kind of different, is that your manifestation powers are actually growing, is what I'm getting for you. Like, you're going to find that you're able to manifest more fluidly and potently. I don't feel like you need to worry about this. Like, one of the messages I was getting, I think this came through in like a full channel mode message that was part of the monthly membership that I do. And I think one of the messages was how manifestation is rising or becoming more potent, but it's like also more divinely orchestrated and guided. And like, if there was anything to fear in the first place regarding it, which I don't feel like there really had to be, like you don't have to be afraid of that potency or that manifestation potency. Because it's like, sure, you have this power to create. At the same time, the divine is orchestrating things. There is like a divine orchestration or an underwriting everything, There's an infinite intelligence that runs through and underrides life and an infinite wisdom. And if you'll allow that and receive that into your world, you don't have to worry so much about, if you even had to worry about it in the first place, negative things happening when you manifest, for example, like things like that. Because I know people have these stories of like, oh, be careful of this, and this. What would be fast for me to get into next? And sure, maybe sometimes that's something to watch out for. And like, how are your words creating? How are your thoughts creating? Like, pay attention to it. But at the same time, I think sometimes people create it in more of a negative spin than it needs to be created. Where like all of a sudden you have to like be afraid of wherever your thoughts are going, and oh my god, like, because you just thought about this bad thing, and is that attracting this? And everyone starts like clenching their buttholes with what they're thinking about, because it's just like almost being afraid of fear, and like being afraid of like those thoughts. Like, it just turns into a mess in my experience sometimes, depending on what you buy into with all that. But the good news is you don't have to worry with the direction things are headed, at least for the most part, and you're going to find more divine orchestration, underwriting manifestations, and safeguarding. So you don't have to worry as much going forward into the future with the ways the energies are shifting, especially if you're a powerful manifester and watching that rise. So don't buy into the fear, especially in the future with the way the energies are headed. Things are a lot more divinely orchestrated than you realize, is really what they're having me spit out for you right now. So what else would be nice good for us to get to for this reading for you? Let me see what comes through next here. So they're showing me the Titanic next. You know, the big boat that sank in the ocean that one time in the past. And that one. They're showing it like sink and like going down. But it's like, the message for you is like, if you feel like your life is tanking it all, and it could just be like in an area like financially or something like that, there's actually like a new boat for you to move onto that's like a new life that's like bigger and better if anything like that happens. So you might be watching something like go down, and you're really worried about like, oh, what am I going to do? What's happening to my life? Is my life tanking and falling apart? I just don't feel like it really is. It's more just like you're being moved to another boat. So you're actually safe is what I'm getting regarding this, and secure, and things are actually going to get better for you. Even if you're watching certain things tank, it's almost like God rescues you and puts you on the next boat before you can even bat an eye. And maybe even before you even realize what's going on in this example as well. And whether it's metaphorically, you got put on a lifeboat and taken to this other boat, or God just puts you there directly, or whatever happens, like you're going to be fine, I suppose. I mean, that's the message. So you're going to be fine. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. I think, there's also a lot going on in the world that people tend to be afraid of, whether it's like war or displacement of people in the world, or things that like the economy, things that seem really worrisome. But it also doesn't have to impact your life directly and tank everything. But I also feel like if it does in some way, you're divinely protected, and there's like rectification right around the corner, or like instantly to like rectify things for you, because it's like not meant to ruin your life is something I'm getting for you right now, which is cool, actually. I feel like that's partly what that's talking about as well for you regarding this reading. So next message is like, we're a lot of ocean references today, but we're kind of, again, in this like, in the ocean, like there's these giant waves, there's a lot of ice around as well, kind of like in the Arctic on this boat. And they're really showing this like massive wave. You know how when there are earthquakes in the water, like tsunamis get created and things like that? There is just a lot of change rippling through and around the planet and through the collective. And you might be bearing a lot of the brunt of that, even if it's like internally. It's not like you're getting ruined or like harmed by this. It's just like a lot of transformation, or like a lot of change all at once. Or maybe you have been going through this in your life. I do feel like it's actually about to simmer down. Like the transformation is complete. Like by the end of this year, if you're watching this after the end of this year, in the next couple months is what I'd say, what I'm getting to say. And you're going to reap the benefits of all that transformation, even if it was tough, or it felt like you were in the fire of transformation, kind of like, like people talk about a crucible when they talk about transformation sometimes, because you're in the fire, but you're being strengthened or whatever, and all that great stuff and stuff. Like God is shaping you in the fire, if you want to make a metalworking analogy. But the good news is I feel like that's kind of like completing, and you're going to reap the benefits, which is great, which is, again, I'm getting these messages like new life, recovery, feeling great, life going your way. And I feel like if there were people who watched you transform and they're like, oh, thank God that's not me going through all that transformation and change, I feel like they're going to watch, like maybe the wave passed them by or something, kind of weird message. Like they're going to see the benefits you're reaping afterwards, and they're going to be like, wait, no fair. Like that's, or like something like that. And I don't know if there's anyone who like made fun of you or something because you were going through difficult times, or like transforming or going through something, but I feel like you're going to be winning, and they're going to be watching that. And I don't know. The words I kind of get for them are like too bad, so sad. It's like they can catch the next train of transformation. It's not like we need to make fun of them or anything like that. It's just kind of like I feel like you're getting your justice, if that makes any sense, which is kind of a weird message, but whatever. That's what they're showing me. Next thing they're showing me is a space shuttle, kind of like the Challenger. Here's a weird message for you. This could just be something that is just reassuring for you as well, but I believe the Challenger space shuttle is the one that broke up in the atmosphere because there was some kind of problem. The message for you is like things aren't going to fall apart to the degree that you lose your life or anything like that. Like, I really feel like you're going to be okay. You know, the example they're showing me is like if Superman was on like the Challenger and things fell apart, like he'd kind of be just like, and he was the only one, like he'd be fine. He'd be like, oh, my space shuttle broke, but I'm just here floating in the atmosphere. I guess I'll fly home or something like that. And he still has his wife, I guess, but his life waiting for him, you know, back home. It's like, in a lot of ways, things are fine. It's just that space shuttle broke apart. It's kind of like there's just something else that person's supposed to do. Think of that like you're going to be fine. You know, like certain things might change. Like maybe Superman would get some reprimanding from the government because he broke the space shuttle or it broke or something like that. But it's like not a big deal. It's like a slap in the wrist or something. Or maybe he'd get rewarded for surviving. I don't know. I really feel like the message though is like you don't need to worry, even if things like don't look good. But I actually feel like they will look good eventually. Like I don't know. I don't feel like this has to be a negative reading for you for whatever reason either. Okay, so they'd like to switch gears for the next message for you guys, the earth signs here. What is the next message for you guys here? There's a bumblebee showing up for this one. So they're showing, it's not necessarily borrowing from the bee movie, but bear with me for a second. They're showing this bumblebee and he's like making all this honey. And I know bumblebees and honeybees are different bees, so hang in there for a second with me. But he's making all this honey like for the humans. And he's just like, oh yeah, making all this sweet honey for people. And then kind of the people kind of come and like take the honey. And then the bee's kind of watching. He's like, yay. And then he's like, wait, I'm not getting anything out of this. Like, I just made all this honey. I don't even get the honey. I don't even get money. Like, I don't get food. Like, people just took all the honey. Like, what's up with that? But the message for you, let me re-get the message here. It was something along the lines of, let me sit with this. If you feel like that's been you at all, or you feel like that is you, like you're actually going to be receiving a lot. It's almost like a tidal wave of receiving is like what they're showing me, where you're finally able to capture like your rewards for all your hard work. Even if you feel like people have been like stealing from you or stealing your work or maybe copying you or something like that. Or you feel like other people have been getting rewards when you haven't been. And then like, you know, people are walking away with your honey or something like that, or stealing what was for you. I don't feel like they actually have been. I feel like your reward is actually so much greater than just that honey. So I feel like you're actually getting more than you bargained for and you're like ready to receive now. So you're going to be receiving a lot pretty soon here. They're giving the month of March for some reason. So the month of March could be when a lot of this receiving comes in, or could be significant to your receiving is what I'm hearing. It doesn't mean this has to be delayed till then. Like you could be receiving a lot now until March, or I don't know. That's just kind of the message I'm hearing in the month they're giving me for that. So just know a lot of that like divine recognition, reward, receiving is coming in for you in a really positive way. Even if you feel like certain things are falling apart or exploding, like there is a lot of receiving on the way, kind of to speak to some of the earlier messages in this reading. There are a lot of good things on the way. And I want to stress this again, like you could have something blow up, but you're actually doing totally fine, like love and life and things are great. It's just like, oh, this area kind of went weird. Okay. Like I'm still happy over here and I've got this awesome thing in my life. So it really doesn't have to be bad. Once again, it's something they would like me to stress here. Next thing they're showing me is a bull, but they're showing me like a bull run as in like the stock market, which is like, you know, when stock market is doing well and going up and things like that. I feel like that's going to be you personally, even like regarding finances is something I'm getting. Like there might be some kind of turnaround for you regarding finances positively if you've been having issues like that. But it's almost like there's some type of bull run of positivity regarding like your financial life coming in for you in the next couple months is what I'm hearing. And I would definitely make the most of it and definitely don't like spend it all as you get it if you can help it. Like put some in savings, maybe invest some of it if you are into investing. This isn't financial advice, by the way. Not a, but you know, do whatever you feel called to do. It's your money, but trust your intuition and all that. That's just what I'm hearing for you regarding this as well. And they're showing me oyster, so we're on this shellfish kick. I think those are shellfish once again. Let me sit with the oyster here. There's a reminder that your rewards might come in different ways than you're expecting. Like for example, someone might be like if there was like a hero and they were expecting a feast upon their return to celebrate their victory out in the field for a kingdom or something like that. They might be expecting like, oh, a feast, it's going to have pork and it's going to have steak and it's going to have this type of fish and it's going to be all my favorite foods. But maybe they get back and the kingdom's like the best we could do is oysters and it's just like a crap ton of like oysters. And like that doesn't have to be a bad thing. Like those oysters could be prepared deliciously and maybe there's some other like random seafood and you're like, what is all this? This isn't a feast, but it actually is. It's just different rewards than they were expecting, but it might actually be better than what was anticipated. So if you do have rewards kind of come in and you're like, this isn't like the area I thought I was going to be in, or this isn't like the thing I was thinking I was going to get, like bear with it and just receive it graciously, you know? And you know, the other thing is like maybe there would be round two of this feast and all the foods that were expected get unveiled and they were just still being cooked and they just had to hurry and get oysters ready because that's what they had ready and you came home earlier than expected or something like that. So you might still get all the other things you were desiring and anticipating and things like that. But just do your best to receive things graciously as far as like rewards from the universe, from people, gifts people give you, successes you get, even if it's not like the area we're desiring, like that's okay, is what I'm getting. Like it's still something and celebrating that will lead to more, which is really good. They're kind of done with this reading actually. They are showing me a grasshopper as the last message, which is about leaps of faith. This is a message actually about not being too voracious about leaps of faith. Like unless you're really divinely guided to and your intuition is like, no, do this, no, take this leap. Like it's actually okay to hold off a little bit right now until you're certain. Like you don't need to force things and be go 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 all the time regarding like major changes and drastic change. Even if you're like you're in that, I almost want to say cycle. I almost wanted to say cycle. I think the word like routine or like habit might have made more sense, but cycle is what they said. So even if you're in that like cycle where you're like, oh, I got to keep all this drastic healing and stuff going. Oh my God. It's kind of like, you know, it's okay okay to kind of simmer down and get a direction and then leap instead of like leap, 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 leap. Oh, I just leapt over the wrong mountain. I got to backtrack and then go, you know, go this direction or something like that. So, but you'll be led to the right leaps at the right time. So just don't force anything major is what I'm getting. It's kind of like the message I'm getting is like an example is like marrying someone too soon where you're just kind of like forcing the engagement or marriage to happen before you're really ready or sure about the person, because you think it's the right move and everyone says it's the right move and you're like, oh yeah, I've only known this person for a year, but yeah, I guess. And they're like, I gotta do this, and then they do it, but it's like maybe that wasn't the right move at this time, or like maybe there was still something they needed to learn about this person before they like made that commitment, you know? Like that's a pretty major thing. Like you don't, in theory, you probably shouldn't just like leap into that and you know, without really knowing what you're getting yourself into. But just keep that in mind right now. Okay, I hope that helped and resonated. Do whatever was for you guys good. Cycle makes perfect sense to me. Okay, perfect. That works. That's what matters. At least in part. You're welcome, Moon. I really appreciate it. Definitely resonated. Thanks for letting me know, Brooke. Glad to hear it. You're welcome. What states am I in? I am in the state of Illinois currently. Oh, thank you, Moon. I really appreciate it. Oh, there you go, Kathleen. I think that is a very good reminder and a good angle to remind everyone of as well. That or better. Oh my God. Sorry, sometimes I start to say things and you're like, no, we don't want you to say it. We don't want you to say it that way. And then I'm already halfway through saying it and I'm like, oh no, what do I do? Do I stop saying it? Do I keep saying it? I'm already halfway through saying it. But I think I just need to be upfront and be like, nah, I'm being redirected. You're welcome, guys. So they're really like running through this live really quickly. I know I normally spend more time like chatting with you guys. Plainfield. Oh, cool. I'm not sure where Plainfield is. Is that more south or like, yeah, I don't know if I've been there before. Yeah, so I am being hurried through this to the next reading. So we're going to start the air signs right now. So if you have an air sign, sun, moon, or rising, and we're just going in order of signs, of course, if you haven't noticed. But if you have an air sign, sun, moon, or rising, I'm going to flow with the channel messages coming through for you from my spirit guides, angels, and source, and see what my intuition is saying, and bring through whatever would be for your highest good. You know, right now, whenever you're seeing this, whether it's here live or on YouTube. So let's start the reading. And the first thing they're showing me as I start is a checkered flag. So you're coming to a lot of endings is what I'm hearing, and completions, like perhaps crossing finish lines. And you know, there might still be like more work to do regarding like a completion or ending or finish line. It's kind of like an example I'm getting is like if you had a project at work and you kind of hit the deadline and like you hurried up and put everything together for like the deadline and you cross that finish line and like the presentation is given, but then it's like, okay, we really hobbled a few of those things last minute, like we have to kind of go in and like rework it and make it finalized now that it's ready for production, you know, or something like that, now that we've got this thing completed at work. So you know, the other example, funny enough, that's showing up, which we just kind of talked about in the live, if you're watching on YouTube, you might not have seen it, but we were just kind of talking about how in relationships and getting married, but in a different angle, it's like just because you get engaged and cross that finish line, like hitting to that next step, doesn't mean like the work is over regarding the relationship. Like you still have to show up for the relationship and either whether it's put work into it, whatever you'd like to quantify it as, you know, you can't just give up and starfish your way through the relationship. Probably, I don't know. Maybe someone has a dynamic out there where that works, but whatever. You understand what I'm saying. The reason we're talking about all of this, though, is, you know, if there are endings or completions coming up in, you know, your life that you're noticing, like finish strong is what I'd say. Don't be afraid to keep putting work into things, even if you feel like you've kind of crossed a certain finish line, you feel like you still need more to do. And I feel like it's also there as a message so you don't like give up. Like you don't just like cross the finish line and just like blip and just like fold and then become like a potato on the couch or something like that. And maybe there's nothing wrong if you do, but it reminds me of a concept where certain businesses and like business books would talk, or sorry, certain business books I've read would talk about how once it is important, according to these people, that once you hit these like targets, like for instance, like revenue targets or like hitting certain other targets in like business regarding success, like it's important that you start setting new targets to aim for, so you don't just kind of like get drunk on that success and be like, yes, we've done it, and then everything just kind of like falls apart because you stopped putting effort into it, you know, and like maintaining and improving and getting to the next, you know, thing that is the aim. And it could be kind of a similar thing for a lot of you, honestly, where it's like maybe you actually hit a target, but you kind of have to keep going or set new targets or aims so you don't just like collapse and give up and then everything. I don't think everything would fall apart, but you know, things don't work as well because you stop putting effort into them. Anyways, I feel like I'm getting slightly sidetracked from what the original message was. So what is important to know about all this for you guys? Just know that there are finish lines coming up. Furthermore, there are a lot of new beginnings coming up. And there is a lot of new on the way for this crowd too, which is really good. So I really feel like it's going to be time to leap into the new either now or like very soon, like after these finish lines. So I guess you have a lot of new coming, which is cool. And this could show up in any area. It doesn't have to be just one thing, is what I'm getting for this one. Next, they're showing me a fruit roll up, but they're also showing me one of those party, I forget what they're called. Like, it's not like a streamer, but it's like that thing that's all folded up, but then you blow into it and it makes like the buzzy sound and it like unrolls and it's like beep or something like that. So what's up with the fruit roll up and that party roll up thing here? I get that the universe is actually celebrating you and some type of cycle of completion you've hit or something you've overcome recently. So good job on that. If you realize what they're talking about with all that right now, I feel like you will. They're saying that you will. So, or maybe you'll see it soon after. They're just like, oh yeah, I did just complete this. Okay, thing here. So kind of a common message, like we got this in the collective reading, so it makes sense it's showing up here too, but there are a lot of rewards for cycles of completion for this crowd as well. And maybe you don't quite see it coming either. It's like a surprise reward, or like, it'd be like, for example, if you worked at a job and your boss rewarded you with a surprise vacation or something like that, which sounds random, but you know, or maybe like your coworkers had a whole surprise celebration planned for you and there's a party and gifts and all that. So I feel like you have a lot of surprise rewards coming in that might even seem random to you, but it's like you've earned this over time from the universe, or it's just like due to come in. You might have even worked for it. So congrats on that. That's really cool. I feel like there's a lot of manifestations like sporadically coming true and manifesting or happening for you as well in the next couple months. And they're showing it to me as like a shotgun, like, you know, it's kind of like scattered. It's like blah, blah, blah. Like and it kind of seems like random and like all over the place, but it's good. Like it's rewards, it's manifestations, but you're kind of like, why is it in this order? Like why is it this thing but not that thing? And they're just like, you know, be patient. Like the universe will get to it, but it's just the appropriate order for you for whatever reason. So is what I'm hearing. Next thing, they're showing me pearls, like a necklace of pearls or string of pearls here. And the message for you is about amplification. And a lot is being amplified for you right now, but it's to like help you have your awareness or put your awareness on your life and see what needs to change. So it hopefully doesn't make sense. Like if all the energy is like amplified and all of a sudden like you were able to see everything very clearly because it was very loud, like you'd be able to see like, oh, like that, this thing over here really needs to change. Like that's really impacting me in like a weird negative way. Like, okay, I'm going to change that routine. I'm going to kick this person to the curb. Or, you don't have to go super hardcore or anything, but just an example. Like they keep showing it to me as an example, like you're in a room and like if everything in the room were like amplified, you'd be like, oh, I see like there's so much dust. I need to like dust this part over here. And oh, I didn't notice those like gigantic cobwebs over in the corner. I'm going to clean those cobwebs. And oh, there's mice. Oh my gosh, I'm going to call the person to get rid of these mice, you know, hope if there's an ethical way, then yeah, ethically. And, you know, all that stuff. And it's like, yeah, all the positive stuff is amplified too, but your awareness is just more on it if it's a bit more in your face than usual. So that's why that's happening. If you're like noticing things affecting you more or things just a little bit more in your face than usual, both positive and potentially negative, it's like, what do you need to adjust? What do you like? And like, what would you like to keep in your world? But what do you need to change as well? So if you notice that happening, that's why that's happening. Could even be like your intuition, like opening wide and just like you're just seeing things more clearly as well, and like it's just impossible to ignore, and it's like a blinding clarity in a way. I'm borrowing that phrase from Lee Harris, who's a channeler, and his definition of that was like blinding clarity is like just something you just can't ignore, but it like really hits you. It might even be like a little bit shocking to you. Like for example, maybe something happens to your car, I think was the example he gave, and like you have to like maybe it gets totaled or it's gone, and then you walk outside and you see that your car is gone, and it's just like this blinding clarity. It's like, oh my god, like my car is gone, like I need to do something about this, or you know, whatever. So I feel like there's a lot of that going around for this crowd, and you're gonna be having a lot of blinding clarity about things in your life that you might have even been turning a blind eye to, is what I'm getting to. Which ultimately is, you could say, a good thing, because it's going to make you make the changes you need to make and lead to a more positive journey in life overall, instead of like lying to yourself and having it bite you in the butt, down the road or something like that. For example, if we need an example, if you're turning a blind eye to and I'm not saying this is happening, this is just an example, someone cheating on you, and you're like, oh, I see the signs, they're kind of saying these things. And that's what my last person I dated said when they were kind of doing something similar, but oh, no, it's fine, right? And then like there's all these people telling you like, hey, like I saw this, like, are you paying attention to this? And you're like, oh, it's fine. And then you get married to this person, and what are they doing? They're going to still be doing that, right? Like, and then it bites you when there's this whole huge legal issue and proceeding with all this stuff probably, and this whole mess, when if you just kind of not ignored it in the first place and cut ties, then it wouldn't come back and like bite you in the butt when it became a much bigger issue because you just didn't take care of it. Just as an example, and I wouldn't wish that happening on you at all, but just so you know what I'm talking about, which you probably already did, but whatever. I guess oysters are very popular today, because oysters are showing up for this reading as well. They just showed up for the earth signs. So what's up with that for you guys here? So it's not really like, I don't think these are oysters they're showing me in the visual, but there's some type of like creature like that. It could be clams, where they actually have the ability to like propel themselves through water, or like swim, or like they have the ability to like actually move it, in water. I feel like there are going to be things in your life that you think are solid or immovable, this doesn't have to be a bad thing, bear with me, that are actually going to be like rocketing around and moving in big ways. So you might have thought you had this big obstacle in your way, and you're just like, oh, I'm never getting around this one. And then all of a sudden it just like picks up and walks out of the picture like really quickly. Like, and all of a sudden it just like jet engine turns on and just moves out of the way. You're like, oh my God. And there it is. Like there's your path forward or something like that. And, it could be something like a job, where like you feel like you're stuck in a job, and you feel like you're gonna be stuck in this job for 10 years, and it feels like a ball of chain, and it's like a lead weight on your life. You're like, I'm never gonna leave this job. I have student loans. Blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden you just like get a new job offer. You're like, oh, it's that easy? So it's kind of like what they're showing me, where like things are moving around that you thought just weren't gonna move, or it was gonna take like a long time. And I feel like that's soon, like in the next month, even the next couple of weeks, like you're gonna start seeing this happening. I don't even feel like it's gonna stop though. Like I feel like you're going to have that energy in play for you for a while, like even for like 6 months or 7 months, or maybe even longer is what I'm hearing. And again, keep in mind, it doesn't have to be bad. It could be getting you out of a lot of stagnation, or out of situations you really didn't want to be in the first place. It's just like an opportunity for change and growth and bettering your trajectory is what I'd say. Next thing there's more with oyster though. We're not done here. I feel like you're also going to be moving around really quickly, and you'll be able to make change in yourself really easily too. Pardon the pauses. Like there are things that you feel like are immovable within you that are changing in big ways, and that's going to be pretty drastic, but very positive, because it's like releasing burdens and mindsets and beliefs that don't serve you and things that don't fit anymore. And some of you might feel like you've been cramming yourself into a life that doesn't fit you, or like you've grown a lot, but it's, again, going back to the hermit crab metaphor, you feel like you're trying to cram yourself back into a shell that you don't fit in anymore. And like, that's kind of got to go. It's like the new life needs to come in. And that's part of what, was it this reading that had the finish line? Yeah, I believe it was. Like sometimes I'm very in the zone with these channeling guys. I don't always remember physically what came through sometimes, but sometimes I do. But oh my gosh, that might be part of what these new beginnings and all these drastic changes are about as well. Is like you not having to cram yourself into things that don't fit anymore. Because I feel like you've grown as a person, and it's time for the new reality to settle in that fits the new you. They're actually done with this reading, so I hope that helped, resonated, do whatever was for you guys good. I don't know if that one might have been a bit shorter than the others, so if there are last second messages, I'll check in on that, but the good news is you have a lot better coming than you realize. Like there is another message about rewards coming in. So it seems like a common message today, like rewards coming in for people. So that's cool. how does it get even better than that, I suppose? But they're saying they're done, no more. So hope that helped resonate. Do whatever's for your eyes good, of course. That was spot on. Thanks for letting me know, Moon. I'm super glad to hear it. Not even an air sign, but dang, hey, if it resonates, it resonates. You're welcome, Amy. Good to see you. You're welcome, Sober Girl and Kanisha. You're welcome, Goddess TD. Very resonant to me. Thank you. You're welcome, Kathleen. Glad to hear it. I'm going to hang out for just a second and then we'll start the water really soon here. New job December 4th in Santa Cruz as a bus operator. Good luck. I hope that's awesome for you. I hope you enjoy it and it brings in lots of dough and life turns around in the best ways for the better for you if you need that. Thank you, Spence. You too. Let me guess, I misfire. You did, Orlando. Oop, sorry, the microphone's covering the Orlando. Yeah, sorry about that. But of course, the replay will be on YouTube, barring any technical difficulties from TikTok and accessing and downloading the live and reposting it. So hi from Australia. Hello. Okay, well, I guess I need to start water right now. I'm getting so... if you have a water sign, sun, moon, or rising, this is going to be for you when you see it. I'm going to flow with the channel messages. Sorry. I'm going to flow with the channel messages coming in for you from my spirit guides, angels, and source for your highest good. And we'll see what my intuition says as well. And let's start the reading for you. So instantly, the first thing I hear is like this message about things falling apart to come back together. So any area of life that feels like it's falling apart, I actually feel like it's being put back together for you like very quickly. And it's like weird. It's the message I hear is like you won't even notice things fell apart. So actually very positive message about things coming together for you. I feel like something is being built for you by the divine. It's like a path or like next steps or just again, it could be like a reward for you or something like that. And it's behind the scenes, like you don't see it coming, but it's like almost ready. Or it's even like ready now. And you're like about to see this like thing that the divine's been working on for you come in. And depending on who you are, where you're at, could be a relationship, resolution to certain problems. It could be like a path or next steps. And if you've been guided to, or you felt like your schedule has been a bit clearer, just like with the way things have been going, like if you've been guided to keep your schedule clearer, like you're about to see why, like the things you need to work on or like projects or things you need to do will come in that will like fill out the right spaces in that for you. So that could have been something that was being built for you, but I really, really just get this message that it's like things are ready to move forward for you and it's like time to move forward. And like also to not beat up on yourself if you haven't been moving forward or haven't been like accomplishing your dreams as much as you would have liked to, or like things you've been meaning to do. Like it's okay is what I'm hearing. Like sometimes we need rest periods. Sometimes we need to chill. Sometimes we need to recalibrate for the path source has for us that might be different than where we thought we were going, depending on where you're at with all that. So, or you could be recalibrating to a bigger destiny than like you thought you had, even if it's like in the same direction, if that makes sense. There's like a couple different ways that could play out depending on who you are and all that. But that's some of what I'm hearing as well. I also get that things are about to get bigger for you, even if things have already been pretty big for you or like big events have been playing out. I feel like there are actually really important things coming in for you in like the next month or two, even for you to like deal with or to like realize or for you to like move towards, or just again, like I keep getting messages about rewards today, like rewards coming in or like justice coming in. So really pay attention to the things that that the divine is bringing your attention to as far as signs or synchronicities or things people are pointing your attention to like over and over again, even like different people, like unrelated, as far as like things you can do or like things to pay attention to or like ideas, anything like that. Like they're really important things that Spirit's trying to bring your attention to that it will be doing, and it will be doing just that soon. It's a way I could phrase that. Okay, next message, they're showing me this boar, like a wild boar or like a pig. Again, this one is about charging ahead. So let me see what the message is for you regarding this wild boar showing up for you. So I'm not super familiar with wild boars. Like I haven't really gone out and like studied them or examined them or palled around with them or anything like that. But in some instances, it really does seem like they don't give an F. Like they'll just charge and like chomp. You know, they'll just come and take you out. You know, and what Spirit is saying is like, hey, we would like you to be a wild boar when we give you a direction. Like it kind of reminds me of like in football, there's this term where like if there's like a player who would just like do anything that the coach asks and like probably do it well, they'd be like, oh, he'd run like through a brick wall if the coach asked him to. Like if he had like run a play that he was going to have to go up against like some really big defenders or something like that. It's just like a term. It kind of reminds me of that. Like that was something they were showing me as well to kind of describe the message and give an example for it, where it's like source might be like, hey, we want you to like start this account and start posting this type of content and really like move towards it. And it's kind of just like point and go is kind of what I'm getting. And like Spirit almost wants you to be directions, at least some of you to be ready for directions like that you're getting like intuitively or that you feel called to go in or things like that. It could be signs and synchronicities as well. And this could even be something that plays out with like at a job with like a boss, where like a boss hands you, as an example, like a special project. They're like, I really need you to work on this, like go, you know, or something like that. It could play out in a lot of different ways, but depending on like, you know, where you're working, what's going on. I'm just getting a weird message, like Spirit is going to be pointing out a direction and Spirit just wants you to go. Like just go, be the wild boar, be the person running through the brick wall, like just do it. And like Spirit will really help you out with this. I don't feel like there's going to be brick walls to run through, but I feel like there might have to be a certain level of trust that you have with the direction you're getting when it comes to this and when you get this information. So very oddly specific, I feel like, but hopefully that makes sense or will, you know, as the next month or so plays out. Because I feel like you might end up second guessing this for some reason, but you really shouldn't, is what I'm hearing as well. Next thing they're showing me just a bubble. It's just like a lone bubble in like the ocean here. There's like a whale swimming around and singing and playing. There's like a sea turtle showing up in my, in a different way I get messages too. We might talk about that later, but let's see what's up here with this. I feel like you've been living in a bubble, but it's actually a good thing. So let me see what they'd like to say to explain this. Sometimes it's like you're living and you're in your own reality, but this might actually be a bit more literal, or like if you think of it energetically, it makes more sense. Like you kind of are in your own like bubble of reality, but it's not a bad thing, because sometimes people have that phrase in normie world, in normie land, where it's like, oh, they're in their own reality, but it kind of means like in a negative way, like they're disconnected or they're not really grounded with like what's actually going on in their life. It's not like that. It's more like energetically, it's almost like in a positive way that's for the highest good. It's like there's a bubble and it's like the world around you could be falling apart, but it's just like everything's fine in your bubble. And I don't think that's bad, actually. I almost get like maybe consider staying that way, because it's almost like you're safe in your reality as long as you don't entrain your reality to everyone else's and live like everyone else's. Does that make any sense at all? Like, I hope this is like making sense to you. And it could even be like you're keeping yourself a bit more confined physically or like slightly more isolated. I'm not saying like, oh, you need to isolate or your life's going to fall apart. That's not what I'm saying at all. But like you could be like keeping your space a little bit more from people, or having more like alone time to like be in your own energies, and like things are fine and peaceful in your own energies. But as you start like looking at the outside world and going out, you're like, oh my God, there's all this stuff and I'm feeling weird and people are angry and people are posting mean seeing things on the internet for no reason and it's all looks like it's falling apart. It's probably not actually, by the way. But it's almost like you're being kept safe in the bubble. So try not to judge yourself if you are isolating a little bit or just keeping to yourself a bit more, or not allowing your reality to become everyone else's, if that makes any sense. One thing I typically say, what are people asking me to say this? They're saying, yes, say it, but let everyone else interpret it how they will, because I'm guessing that will be more helpful for you in this instance. But the one thing that I tend to say is like, a lot of people seem to worry about like what everyone else thinks about them, or like living their life, and then like they'll compare their life to like everyone else's life and things like that. But then I'll kind of mention like, when you look at most people and how they're doing and how happy they are and how their life is, do you really want to be like most people? Like, do you really want to live the life most people are living? Because to me, what I see, probably not. Not that I'm not trying to say like, oh, everyone sucks and all the average people are terrible, but it's like most people don't look like they're having a good time. Most people look like they're pandering to people's judgments and projections and points of view about things, and then they'll buy really expensive like trucks or cars to try and be perceived a certain way, but it doesn't actually matter. And if they really got in touch with themselves, they'd be like, oh, I don't actually care about this. Some people might actually care about that, but then they'd be in genuine joy about it when they had it, instead of just like, oh, I have a big truck and it means this, but wait, it doesn't mean that at all. Oh my God, I'm a fraud, but everyone thinks I'm really good and successful, but I'm not, but I am. But it just turns into like a real weird mess, I think, for a lot of people and their belief system and their thoughts and their, oh my God. So I guess the question is like, even if you're living in your bubble, you're like, oh, is this wrong? It's like, do you really want to live like most people and most people's realities? Because it doesn't look very fun to me, if I'm being honest. I'd rather craft my own thing that I really enjoy and appreciate, and that is aligned with source and aligned with my divine guidance and intuition. Not, I don't know, even like make certain things real that I get aren't real, that everyone else or a lot of different people might say are real. Like, I'm trying to think of an example that would make that make sense. Or maybe it will just make sense, but, or maybe not. I don't know. That's my spiel though. I feel like that made sense enough is what I'm getting, that it should work, but just keep that in mind when you start to judge your world or self compared to others. It's like, who do you really want to be and how do you really want your life to go? Next thing that would be fascinating me to get to for you here, they showed me a bunny rabbit. If you guys remember Monty Python, that movie, and they have like that killer bunny, like they showed that as well, in case that's a sign for you. But let me see what the message is here. It is kind of a reminder that sometimes looks can be deceiving. And what is this about though for you? Sorry for the pause. Just want to make sure I'm getting the right information for you here. I don't know. It's like a weird message. Like some of you have projects that you want to tackle or are thinking about, and like you think it's going to be easy, but it's actually not going to be easy. And then you have like things that look like they're going to be really hard, but they're actually not going to be hard. So I get like what I'm hearing as a solution is like, it's okay to kind of test the waters with things a little bit before you just assume and try to go a certain direction and if you're intuitively guided, you'll probably know right away. But regardless, like if you're like assuming like, oh, I'm going to do this thing for my business, for example, because it's going to be easy and I'm going to avoid doing this thing because it looks really hard, like maybe try them both out. If they come to you as ideas that the divine wants you to try, and like you might surprise yourself with like what actually the best solution is. That's not what you think it is right off the top of your head. And this could even be about like dating people as well. Like you might be looking at someone who's really like attractive and has a lot of people who like them, and you might be like, oh, I don't think I even have a chance. Like they're so popular, da 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 da. Then you might see someone over here who's just like, yeah, I guess they're cute, and no one seems to really be around them. I think I have more of a chance over here. Like you just might be assuming improperly. If you really checked in intuitively or tested the waters, went on a date with each of them. This person might be impossible to please over here, but this person might be like, oh, I actually really like you. And like, I can't believe you finally asked me out or something like that. And, maybe it was just kind of an illusion that either it just didn't matter that they had a lot of people interested in them, or it was just kind of an illusion that they were unobtainable, So just keep that in mind right now. Like, I guess there are certain things that just aren't what they appear. And you might be judging things before you really see what they are, and don't do that is what I'd say. So you might surprise yourself or be surprised. The other message they're showing me is like they're showing these weights kind of grounding down to like a sea floor, and there's a lot that's being grounded in for you. Again, as far as like new directions is what I'm hearing. I guess there's a lot of that going around. Ideas that you need to watch out for, even like things that are going to serve your highest good. And I feel like just things that spirit wants to bring in for you, that spirit's been working on. So just pay attention to what's grounding in for you in your life, and maybe even for the highest good energetically for you. I just feel like there are a lot of positive things grounding in, which is really cool. And definitely receive them. I would definitely work on your worthiness and deservingness right now too. There might be some really good things you're like afraid to receive in a weird way. And I know that sounds preposterous and ridiculous to some of you maybe, or could sound preposterous, ridiculous to some people, but sometimes deservingness and worthiness issues are a real thing to work through in order to receive more and receive the good that's meant for you, even if it's like your destiny and like your destined path. Sometimes you kind of have to unlearn unworthiness issues or ideas or beliefs that maybe even you bought from other people that they had for themselves, or whatever happened for that to happen. And that's a really good time to examine that, dig into that. If you channel on it, work through it. It's going to serve you very well to be rid of that for everything, like regarding everything, honestly. The next thing they're showing me on like a similar track, at least symbolically, is like a lead weight. So what's up with this? There might be a lot that you feel like is dragging you down, because they're showing someone like, like the pirates used to like tie people to lead weights or whatever and make them walk walk the plank, or tie people to weights in general. It doesn't have to be lead. And they're showing someone like they have this like weight tied to their ankle and it's like dragging them down. But they're like, it's weird because then the message is like, you're not actually getting dragged down. It's almost like you don't need to be afraid. If you feel like things are pulling you down, like you're gonna come right back up to the surface. Like spirit's got you. So don't worry too much if you feel like you're drowning regarding anything. Like you're gonna be saved in some way, shape, or form, which is cool here. Next thing they're showing me is a helicopter. They're playing that like TikTok song that used to go around that was like helicopter, whatever that was. And I don't think I ever got past the 2-second sound that they used for it. I don't think I ever looked up the song, but let me see what the message is for you regarding the helicopter. They really want to like reiterate this message for you. Like so much is coming together for you. Like if you are in like any type of issues, I feel like it's almost like you're being airlifted like out of them in a way. Like especially anything that would prevent things coming together for you. It's like destined that like things come together for you around this time, or like in the near future, at least in the next couple of months, like some sort of things coming together. But I feel like it's in big ways, honestly, for most of you, if not all. So like really try not to worry right now regarding whatever is going on. Like you're gonna be okay. Also, here's like a reminder to like stay away from people whose opinions always bring you down. So, I mean, it could be like your uncle at Thanksgiving as an example. Like they're like, oh, why'd you get this degree and go into this line of work and la 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 la. You could have been XYZ, da 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 da. It's kind of like it doesn't matter. Like you should do what you feel called to do, and like people's opinions don't matter. So just try to like not deal with those people if you can, or not intentionally bring them around you at the very least. And maybe you can change the topic or something if the conversation comes up, or steer the conversation so you don't have to deal with it in a certain way or something like that. And ask them a question instead, or I don't know, something. There might be ways around it, but for some reason, that's just a message coming through for you to help you out right now. They're kind of done with the reading. They are showing me like this rare steak for some reason. So what's up with the rare steak here? And like an octopus. It's like a surf and turf or like seafood platter. So what's up with all this here? The message I'm hearing is it's your turn to be served, which I know is like a message that seems to go around out there with like readings that, at least that I've seen, but it's what I'm hearing to say to you right now. So I'm going to say it. And whether people are saying it or not. And again, I feel like you might have been someone who's watched like people get served around you or watch manifestations come in or like things are working out for everyone else, but you're like, okay, when's my turn? When's my turn? I feel like it is your turn soon, if not now. So I feel like Spirit's going to be really serving it up well for you, which is really good. And probably in big ways, because I keep hearing that, like in big ways and things coming together in big ways. So that's really good. Okay, one more message. Our good friend, the giraffe, is showing up, giraffe spirit animal, for this message as well. And in this giraffe, like people are trying to cut this giraffe down to size because it has such a big neck. It's so tall, it's so big, it's muscular, I guess, in this example, and strong. And like people keep being like, oh, we need to teach giraffe a lesson, and they keep trying to like cut its neck down and things, but it's like not working. It's like this giraffe is invincible in a way. And I feel like that's you actually in a positive way. Like people can't cut you down. And I think that's a really good thing. And if you feel like they can, I feel like that's going to be rectified really quickly. And the other thing is like people trying to like cut people down for like no reason. Like that's kind of, I would say that's along the lines of a more narcissistic dynamic or behavior. I'm not saying those people are full-blown narcissists, but if someone's like, oh, I need to knock this person down a peg, who do they think they are, posting on social media and having a following or you know, being so good at this skill when I'm supposed to be the one that's good at this, you know, I don't know, weird stuff like that. They don't really deserve to cut you down. Even if you have a story where you think they do because something your parents said or how you were treated or whatever as a kid, I don't know. But they don't really deserve to do that. And like, if you're like legitimately, authentically successful, like cool, people shouldn't be able to like take that away from you or anything like that. Like there's no reason for them to, especially like if you've like done the work to acquire a skill, like why should someone cut you down for that? So it's a little bit ridiculous if you think about it, but if you feel like you're encountering anything like that, which hopefully you're not even in the first place, but I'm getting like, no, they're like, no, that's out there. So just, I don't feel like they're going to be able to cut you down, and don't let them is something I'd say as well. So they're done. Hope that helped, resonated, did whatever is for us. Good. We're going to do a full channel mode message, I believe, in just a second here. We're going to move to that in a second, but I'll just say hello to everybody who's here in between the sessions here. You're welcome, guys. Perfect. I'm glad to hear it. Olivia. You're welcome, Crystal Kelly. Hey, Patty Pilgrim. Buff giraffe season. That's right. That's right, crowd. It's our buff giraffe season. That was good. You're welcome, Jessica Johnston. I'm glad to hear it. And I'm really glad to hear it. Spence, I'm glad to hear it. I'm really glad to hear it. Spot on. Perfect. Thanks, Denise. I'm glad to hear it. All right, we are cruising really fast through this live. I feel like this is one of the fastest we've cruised through these recently. Because normally we're about like 3.5 hours through. No cutting me down. Heck yeah. Oh, thank you, Desiree. I'm so glad to hear it. Thanks for the heart, me, Rain. I appreciate it. You love the speed? Cool. Glad to hear it, Dana. Glad it's working for you guys. I feel like I'm cruising. Okay, but they would like to do the full Tana mode message like right now. And we'll probably do guitar. I think I have my guitar right outside the door. So if you're not familiar with the full Tana mode, if you're new here, and a lot of you probably are, but I pretty much step out of the way and jump into full Tana mode, and my spirit guides, the angels, and source are channeling directly through me. So a couple things to look out for, just for your information at least, is, yeah, the message is important, like that matters, but also the frequency and the energetic transmission are major parts of channeling, and those can do something akin to like an energy healing session. They're only for the highest good, of course. It flows from the source, and it can do upgrades, healing, things like that. So the other thing is you might find it opens your intuition or your own channeling as well if you're meant to channel. So that's a cool effect as well with the channeled work. So I suppose anything else I need to do before we start? So I'm drinking a little bit of water, and then sometimes they kind of talk about the topic a little bit ahead of time, like they tell me what they would like to channel about. And sometimes they also go into other messages as well, and it's not really limited to that topic. I am getting something about rising lights and what else is new, I guess. But I'm going to start. So I'm going to step out of the way. Usually I do a little cough, and then they do a little laugh, and then they start talking, and you'll know what's happening. So fully for that's good. Let's see what comes through for you today. Welcome to today's channeled message, and we are eager to get started, for this crowd is very ready for the next steps in their world, very ready to ascend to higher planes of reality, very ready to embody the light. So we would say this crowd is ripe for ascension. Some of you don't like that phrase. Some of you think that phrase is overused. It doesn't matter. You know what we are speaking to, and that is why we use that phrase. Even if it doesn't agree with your belief system, you know more or less what's happening and what we are speaking to. And the rise of the light is a major theme, specifically in 2024 and beyond. It is one of the main things that is causing possibilities to rise, causing celebration in the etheric, causing manifestation to speed up, causing evil, if you will use that word, or darkness to flee the planet. In most instances, we would hesitate to use the word evil, for there are a lot of human judgments and stories and projections around that word. We say it today to get you to go to your own beliefs around it, to get to your own truth around it. We would say evil doesn't always exist. We would say evil is a projection and a story. And we say this now because in some ways, it is hindering growth for some of you to judge certain things as evil. We are not saying there isn't darkness or lower vibrations in certain acts on the planet or certain things that are going on, but we implore you to truly examine the truth and what feels light to you, what feels true to you, when other people begin judging a thing, a person, an organization as evil. Because in some instances, that is a control mechanism to get you to take their side, to get you to judge things the way they judge things, to get you to stay away from things they want you to stay away from. Now, we have to be careful with this, where sometimes there is some legitimacy to what they are saying, in that something might be of a lower vibration or not healthy for a being, or may not be a healthy activity or point of view to take on or add into your world. For example, we definitely don't condone murder, and those of a higher consciousness plane, coming from consciousness, definitely would not say that is a healthy way to move about the planet. But we also don't judge it. You might have trouble wrapping your heads around that one, some of you, but you will get it. We would say it is not of consciousness. Unless it is in self-defense, there is no other way for you to survive this encounter. But you don't need to judge something as evil just because everybody else is. There is a different story that could be more accurate. So we implore you to ask, when there are stories in the media that a friend is telling you, that religion is telling you, that the government is telling you, ask if it is true. You can say, yes, I realize there is a certain lack of consciousness in this activity or the way this group is going about things, but is it true that it is evil? Is it true that that's the truth? Or is this just a projection? Or is this getting me to think about it in a certain way to control the way I behave around this thing? That is a question we wish you would ask. Because so many stories are designed to keep you away from your power or the truth. And when you see the truth, it's much easier to navigate reality. Some of you might say, no duh. Some of you are starting to see the truth of what we're saying energetically. And it's making a bit more sense than you thought it would. On another level, on a higher level. Because this age is the dawn of awareness. The rise of light is causing awareness. And awareness causes stories, false stories, to crumble. Awareness causes false realities to crumble. Awareness causes false ideas to crumble. Awareness causes self-judgment to crumble. Awareness causes judgment of others to crumble. Awareness causes false stories to fall. And in an age of awareness, so much that has lacked consciousness must fall. So much that has lacked higher vibrations must fall. So much that has only stood up, propped up by stories, judgment, projection, must crumble. Even if it is an internal way you operate, that must fall. But behind all of that is the light and the truth. Underneath all of that is the light. For if you go into the higher planes of reality, there are no entities or negative energies trying to get you. That is a story. That is a self-created prophecy for some. If you go deep into reality, under the layers of the surface you find yourself on, and we say that to create an image, there's nothing negative out to get you. Some of you are having a bit of a crisis right now because of the stories you've had about all this. But a lot of the things that you see on earth that are negative, that some might ascribe the term spiritual warfare, isn't really the truth, is made up, is self-created, is perpetuated through projection. So are you willing to create something different? Are you willing to realize you don't have to live in that reality? Are you willing to realize you can create something different in the first place? Because that is what awareness breeds. Higher realities, higher possibilities, and the ability to create something new that's not steeped in the stories of the past. If you will, please do an exercise with us. A visualization, a meditation, if you will. Visualize roots stemming from your heart and even your feet. But in this instance, see these roots flowing into reality. See yourself standing on whatever a representation of reality would be for you intuitively. And you can let this show up intuitively, or you can visualize this the best you can, depending on where you're at. Let it show up how it will. And see these roots going deep into reality, all the way to the core, deeper than you think reality goes. deeper than you think life goes, and allow it to be energetic. Just feel the energies all the way to core. Now go deeper. Deeper and deeper and deeper until the roots hit source, which is everything. Now draw up source energy through all those layers of reality, up the roots, and see it healing all the false stories you've had about reality. Everything regarding false stories you've heard from others that have messed with you regarding reality, if at all. See it getting rid of any stories about negative energies winning or darkness rising on an etheric level with any sort of hope of victory. For darkness has no hope of victory. Not in this world, not in this time, not ever, we would say. And just sit with the truth of what you feel about reality as you sit with your roots deep in reality. Now you can see a white light move from source, engulfing these layers of reality, if you will, that you've been standing upon. And see them transform into whatever would be optimal for you. See them heal. See them grow into something better. What you're doing is reaching deep into reality to ask it to change for the better. Not that it was bad. Not that there was anything you needed to worry about. But just to see what it creates for you. That's better than what has happened thus far. And just feel the shift. Feel reality changing for the better. And you don't need to project on what this needs to look like. Just feel what's shifting energetically. It should feel lighter. It should feel better. At this stage, you can just ask Source to do whatever else would be for the highest good regarding the meditation and the exercise, regarding reality. And just see yourself back in the room you're in. You can wiggle your fingers and toes if it would help you get back to your body. That is an exercise to help you heal your reality and help you let go of the stories you have that are not serving you. It's designed to manifest truth for you in your life and ease of finding truth. So you might see more truth manifest for you, more realizations about truth following the exercise. But it will do what's for the highest good for it to do for each of you. If you were to let go of all your stories, life would get a lot better. That doesn't mean you live mindlessly, that you don't check your memories, that you don't access your awareness or pay attention to your thoughts. It's just letting go of the stories that stick you, to allow light to replace them, to allow you, the authentic you, to replace them. Because the stories don't have to run your life anymore, and they never did. The judgments don't have to run your life. Awareness can be the thing that runs your life. Or at least that you check in with to help you run your life. That is our message for you today. We could venture into a few more topics, Really, what we'd like you to do is let go of stories. Know that light is rising. Know that reality is transforming. That the negative stories you hear about reality aren't necessarily the truth. Really, really check in regarding the energies of a practitioner that might be selling you a negative reality or a negative story about reality. Really double check. Oh, does this person have good energies? Or they come from a good place? They might not. They might be doing their best. They might not be a bad person. But they might not be speaking the truth. If they are selling you something that makes things worse for you, in particular, it just might not be the practitioner for you in that moment. And it might be your lesson to get you to truth. But really check in on the energies of people selling you negative things, because that will be your barometer and a start on your awareness regarding who to listen to, if anyone, outside of your intuition. And you should always be checking your intuition. That is where we would like to leave you. We are wishing you well. We are wishing you optimal light for you. We are wishing you whatever is for your highest good. And may the highest and best of transpire. We are signing out for now. The Angelic Collective of Zorbital and Source. Farewell. Ooh. Well, how does it get any better than that? Needed to hear that. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome, Dana. Felt amazing. Perfect, Heather. Glad to hear it. It's a good sign. Needed that meditation. Perfect. I'm glad it helped. You're welcome, Rain. You're welcome, Linnea. So I actually do feel like I'm going to, probably do the Reiki infused and energy healing infused guitar for the highest good guitar session in just a couple minutes. That felt good. Exactly what I've been working on. Great. Glad it was right on target. You're welcome, Tanya. Okay, I'm going to grab my guitar real quickly. So I'm going to be back in like just a minute, and then we'll chat a bit more and stuff. Oh, 1 second. Dropped my pick. Meditation was so uplifting. Perfect. How's it getting better than that? Glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it, Molly. That's awesome. I'm sure you'll do great. I felt like we got a VIP treatment today, like an exclusive tuning. I feel like you did too. The second I read your comment, they're like, yeah, they did. So that's cool. Oh, thanks, Heather. I'm so glad to hear it, Denise. Oh, I'm really glad. Okay, so normally I would like hang out and chat a little bit more. Oh, I'm sorry, Kristen. I will repost it on YouTube as long as there aren't any technical difficulties with TikTok. Also, oh, that's perfect. Perfect, Kathleen. Oh, I'm so glad to hear it, Crystal Kelly. So, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm still coming down from that channel, which of course, totally sober girl. Totally agree. You're saying I think we all just need to be more mindful of, all need to be mindful of information spreading on TikTok. Totally. I hear that. I'm still buzzing. I'm not surprised. I don't know. They're really emphatic that I begin playing like right now. So I think I'm do that, one second. Oh my gosh. I hadn't really I might need to move this around a little bit. We're in tune, so we're good. Third eye as well. Yeah, it'll do that. The channeling will do that for sure. Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Hello. So with the Reiki and energy healing infused guitar, a lot of you are already familiar with it, but I just take a second to set some intentions, get some Reiki and some other energy healing modalities potentially as well going. And then the Reiki and energy healing is infused with the music, and it's also just flowing as well in general. Thanks DJ for the water reminder. Appreciate it. And they're really on just doing this, so I guess we'll just jump in. So give me 1 second to... So, of course, my intention is that Reiki and all healing energies and everything about this works only for the highest good. It goes wherever would be for the highest good for it to go, does whatever work would be for the highest good for it to do, and that only what's pure and for the highest good to occurs regarding all of this. And I'm also going to call in the angels to watch over this and do whatever would be for the highest good in addition to that. And I'm going to ask Source to work through all of this and watch over it for the highest good as well. So you can just set the intention to receive what's for the highest good for you to receive. I'm going to move this mic so it is aimed more towards the guitar so you hear it a little bit better, and we'll just delve right into it. So, and some of these will be just songs I've written or maybe at least partially channeled, and some of it will just be improv. So let's see what comes through for you today. And give me 1 second to... Okay, so we're gonna wrap that up there. So closing intentions, of course, any Reiki and healing energies that flowed, worked with this, continue to work until any shifts and changes that are for the highest good to be completed are completed. I'm gonna ask the angels to wrap this session up in whatever would be for the highest good of each of you and everyone involved, of course. I ask that Source does whatever else would be for each of your highest goods, each respectively, to wrap this up and just going forward for the highest good regarding the session and just in general. So I'm going to close that there. You might want to take a second to ground or maybe drink some water, whatever works for you. Any energetic connections not for the highest good to continue between you and me or anything like that. That's separate, so don't worry about that. Only for the highest good. And I'll ask the angels to take care of anything like that as well, if need be, to wrap it up. But we should be good now. Yep, we're good. But I hope you enjoyed that. Hope that was really impactful for you in the best ways. Oh, perfect. Thanks, Silver Girl. Thanks, Andy Pandy Pie. Good to see you, by the way. You're welcome, Authentic Mystic. Well, now I'm zoning out, so sorry. That was exactly what you need. I'm so glad to hear it. Oh, beautiful. Wow, so powerful. Thank you. Felt like lovely energetic heart surgery. I'm so glad to hear it. That's amazing. Profound healing today. Now I know why they were zooming through the words portion of the day. That makes sense. Oh, that's awesome. Crystal Kelly music. I love that. I'm so glad Handy Pandy Pie. That's good to know. It was helpful for integration. I'm glad to hear it, Olivia. So the other thing I'll talk about just as we're closing out here is I do have a free newsletter with channel messages on the month ahead and channeled advice on each week ahead if you feel called to that. And I do have some other offerings as well if you'd ever like to go further with my work. I have a monthly membership with channeled readings on the month ahead each month that go really deep into that, as well as channeled direct channeling sessions, like long ones, like 45 minutes plus to an hour plus as well as channel guided meditations. So if any of that draws to you, you can look on my websites. I also do have MP3s, like channeled MP3s for sale, like the red package and the orange package, which are meant to help the root chakra. Oh my gosh, if I can talk, root chakra and sacral chakra each respectively as well, and really transform every area of life corresponding with that for the highest good. So the red package is meant to bring in stability, orange package to help with everything correlating with the sacral chakra, emotional world, things like that. So I also have things like that. And I do have energy healing classes coming up as well, if that ever draws to you. We have like the 4 angelic fires coming up, and I may be teaching more Reiki classes going up because I just taught a Reiki masterclass. I really enjoyed it, so I might start teaching more Reiki as well. But you know where to look for all that. You can also reach out if you have any like questions and you're wondering about classes or anything like that. So that's my self-promotion for the day. If you're called to go deeper with my work with me, I'd love to see that. And if not, I trust that you will make the right choices for you at the right times for you as well. So I trust that the right people will be drawn to it. To those offerings at the right time is what I could say. But that's kind of it for the live, I think. I might hang out for just a second longer. If you do Reiki level 1, I'll be there. Awesome. I'll definitely keep it in mind for sure. Okay, well, they're saying they're done. So they're like, close the live, we're done. So, but I wanted to, Moon, you're asking why you have anxiety. Couple answers that I'm getting. One, you might be picking up on it from other people, especially if you resonate as someone who's energetically sensitive. One resource they're recommending I point you towards is actually a Lee Harris channel called Soul Imprints. I think he has it up on YouTube for free. If you look up Lee Harris Soul Imprints or something like that, it should show up. It's like a 40, it's actually a direct channeling session, funny enough. That's not one that I facilitated, of course, and no real affiliation there. I just like a lot of his work. And he talks about dealing with anxiety and like his guides rather talk about anxiety and picking up on like collective anxiety and things like that. And there could be like an exercise that's helpful for you at the end as something you could use to target that. The other thing I was getting for you, if you don't like do physical movement as much in your life as if you do, perfect. But really, one thing I was hearing is like it might be helpful for you to move more and look at incorporating different types of physical movements. Another thing I've kind of heard talk about with things like anxiety, and it can be a whole thing to work through it, but if you have a lot of anxiety that you're dealing with on a consistent basis, is bringing in something consistently you're doing every day to, I don't know if I like the word combat, but to offset that. So if you have anxiety every day, it would be good to do like physical movements every day or a meditation practice, you know, for however long every day to start to counteract that anxiety. And I do feel like that would help you as well. But I was hearing something about adding more physical movement into your life or lifestyle if you don't already, or if you already do, maybe different kinds, like maybe like yoga or something. There have definitely been times when I would deal with, well, this might be slightly different conversation actually with what I was dealing with, but I have anxiety like that would come up, or actually, and physical movement would really help with that. Even if it was like, I felt like I was picking up on a lot of other people's stuff. For some reason, something about that physical movement helped my body with the anxiety. I was going to tell me to talk about this. I feel like it's unrelated for you, Moon, specifically regarding this whole topic and conversation, but I have found that, well, there's like a lot of different things I want to talk about with this, like for me and when I pick up on things and things that might be helpful for some of you as well. But even if you're just picking up on a lot of other people's stuff, I found like it's not going to sound very silly, but very basic self-care things and really making sure that's taken care of can really help with how that's going for me. Like getting enough sleep, making sure my nutrition's really there. Like I'm eating enough like fruits and veggies and nutrition for myself, that I'm drinking enough water. And I found like if I get off of that, I'll notice I'll have a lot more issues with anxious thoughts, even if they're not mine for whatever reason. And physical exercise. Another thing that's unrelated that I'll talk about in case it's helpful, because they told me to talk about this, was there was a moment where, even like with my intuition and channeling, this might be slightly different than what you're talking about, but it would be like really, I don't want to say painful, but like I would get my intuitive visuals and channeled visuals and messages the way I would. But there was one day I just found it was almost like painful, or it was just like too much, because it wasn't like anything different than I normally get either. But like I'd see like get the intuitive message, I'd be like, oh man, like it would just, I don't know how to describe it. It was just like too much. And I remember talking to someone, they're like, oh man, like you have so much light coming through you. Like it would really help you to move your body a bit to like ground that light in a bit more and maybe allow it to flow through better. I don't remember the exact wording, but I did find that once I started doing a little bit of, even just like a little bit of yoga, even if it was gentle yoga, that was just more stretching than it was like going hard, you know, and doing triple backflips on the mat or whatever people do. That really actually helped with grounding in that light and having a bit more of a smooth time with, working with a lot of light coming in, whether it's like channeling and intuition or things like that. So I don't know why I'm talking about that, but maybe that's helpful for some of you as well, with all of that. So I know some of that might be a bit basic, but hopefully anything else for Moon that would be helpful regarding the anxiety they're kind of going through. Yeah, I do really feel like a lot of it's other people. It's beyond everything we already said. So I'd be working with ways to, if you don't already, I guess, like shield your energy. That's not typically the direction I would go, but it's what I'm hearing to say for you. And like work with maybe energetic boundaries, and figuring that all out could be really helpful for you, in addition to everything else that was kind of talked about here. And you might have to you might end up discovering some of your own practices with that as well that work for you that might be different than what other people purport, but I feel like that could be a starting place for you. Thank you so much. I live in a sober living house with a woman. Yeah, that makes sense that you might be picking up on a lot of other people's anxiety. So, and maybe like you'll feel called to expand like the energetic shielding practices too in some way, but do what works best for you. I hope that helps as a starting place, at least. Yeah, you're welcome. I hope that helps. So I feel like we're done with the live now. So I guess I'm gonna say that what? Ooh, Energetic Boundaries book by Cindy Dale is amazing. Ooh, that might be a good one to check out. I might look at that one too. Oh, thank you, Moon. That means a lot. No pressure on that. Yay, Guitar Live. I haven't done a few in a little bit. You're welcome, Beep Leaf. So I so appreciate getting to do this. I appreciate getting to channel, and I'm always so happy to see the feedback of how this helped, resonated, or whatever. So thanks you guys. Thank you guys for being here. Yep, Lee Harris, exactly like that. And I believe his YouTube account is Lee Harris Energy, so that would be where you can look him up for starters. Okay, so I am sending you guys love. I am wishing you well. Oh, thanks, Crystal Kelly. That means a lot. That means so much. I was gonna... Oh, thanks, Moon. I appreciate it. Okay, you guys take care. I am signing out, and I will see you hopefully next week or on TikTok or just in general on some platform. Okay.